Good evening, College Park. It is Tuesday, June 11, 7:30 p.m. I am calling to the order of the College Park City Council regular meeting, City of College Park, Maryland. We'll begin the meeting with a moment of silent meditation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, this will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell. Colleagues, do you want to add anything to the meditation? Seeing none, please join me in a moment of silent meditation. Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll do the roll call, starting with District 1, City Councilmember Hernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Hill, has he joined?
He's supposed to be joining virtually.
Yeah, maybe later in the meeting. Going to District 2, Dr. Esters.
Present.
Ms. Whitney,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell,
Present.
Councilmember Mackey,
Here.
District 3, City Councilmember Adams has joined online.
Present.
And Councilmember Riggs.
Here. There's no S.
Mr. Rigg. Going with the announcement in the same order, Councilmember Hernandez.
Hey, no S, got it. I want to start off by congratulating the students of Hollywood Elementary School and Buck Lodge Middle School for their promotions, graduations. I was happy to be a guest at both of the graduations. Hollywood Elementary School also added a new book vending machine this week. Some really exciting developments out there, so we're super supportive. For Buck Lodge Middle School, point of personal privilege here to congratulate my little sister Martha and her classmates as they proceed to their next chapter. I did want to put on everyone's calendar, the City of Bowie will be having a Juneteenth festival on June 15th at Allen Pond Park. It'll feature art, food, live bands, a kids zone, college representatives, and much, much more. I'd like to ask for us as a city to consider having a Juneteenth-themed Hollywood Farmers Market, if able. If not this season, the next, perhaps via decorations, music, or making a concerted effort to invite some of the Black-owned businesses to attend and participate at the Hollywood Farmers Market. While on the Hollywood Farmers Market, on behalf of residents, vendors, and the community, I want to sincerely thank the city staff for their efforts in ensuring that the Hollywood Farmers Market is running without a hitch. I believe it was last week or this week that you all added physical signs to Rhode Island Avenue. Some awesome feedback we received this week. It was obviously a lot of things going on this weekend, but there was a pair of customers who joined us from New York who said that the only reason that they stopped was because of those physical signs. So congratulations to the city staff, and thank you so very much for all the hard work you guys have put into it.
Thank you, totally echo that. And then go to Dr. Esters.
Yes, I just want to mention that Attic Towers will be hosting a health fair for its residents on Thursday, June 13th, from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. The fair will focus on social services, an array of health activities and events. Thank you.
Councilmember Whitney.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank all of the various neighborhood organizations that participated in Trolley Trail Day on Saturday. It was fantastic. I want to thank Councilmember Rigg, singular, for joining us at the Lakeland dedication to Mr. Mack, the dedication of the bench, and there was a really cool, very cool reenactments there all day, and we got to learn a lot about the history of that neighborhood. And finally, it was capped off with an incredible concert Laundry World performing with the College Park Chorale at the College Park Airport, and I was floored. It was really, really cool, and if they ever perform together again, do not miss it.
Fantastic, thank you. It was fun joining the event as well in Lakeland. I see Councilmember Hugh from District 1 joined. I believe he's joining from West Coast in California. Do you want to make an announcement? Or do you want me to come back later?
Thank you, I'll pass.
Thank you. Going to Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Hill, you look very comfortable out there in California. Wanted to say kudos and thank you to the staff, Mr. Young and all the rest of the staff who helped support UMD last year for the ITJ conference. I heard nothing but great kudos for the staff on a job well done, as well as to Councilmember Rigg and Councilmember Mackey, who also participated, and Councilmember Rigg was actually a panelist at one of the workshops. So, and as well as Councilmember Hugh.
Yeah.
So, want to say that we definitely made and left a mark with ITGA. For those, it's International Town and Gown Association. Any municipality or city who has a major university in there, you have the opportunity to seek membership. And there's also opportunity to learn best practices from other municipalities who have large universities or colleges in their town. So wanted to say that, and thank you again for the nice event on Friday evening, the Friday Night Live event. It was excellent, excellent, excellent. And my last is also a continued kudos to code enforcement for what they continue to do in College Park Woods. I will not go into details, but it's very sensitive in nature, but they are doing a great job and it's being noticed by the other residents in College Park Woods. And I wanted to tell you, many residents have stopped by and asked me to tell the director, Jatinico Carr, and the staff, job well done. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Fantastic, thank you. Councilmember Mackey.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to put this on your radar that Good Neighbor Day is coming up in the fall. And I'm actually going to be attending a advisory meeting on Thursday. And so start thinking about the projects that you'd like to have in the works for Good Neighbor Day. And I also wanted to just caution all the residents, this week we're supposed to be having a heat advisory, so please take care when you're outside, stay hydrated and well. Thank you.
Thank you. Going to Councilmember Adams online. Do you have any announcement?
Pass.
Thank you. And Councilmember Rigg.
Only a point of personal privilege to recognize my colleague, Councilmember Adams. This is the first meeting that he's joined as the father of now 2 children, I believe. His baby girl, Ada, was born early but healthy, and it's one of the reasons why he's not here in person, but we're all very grateful that everybody's well, and very much appreciate Councilmember Adams' continuous dedication to this body, even in spite of the new addition.
Thank
And
you.
Councilman Rigg,
Congratulations.
Councilman Rigg, we have 2 additional honorary members to the council now. So.
Absolutely. Let's go to our student liaison. I see Erica Ott. She has joined online. Do you have an announcement?
I'll pass, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to our city manager's report, Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to again say thank you to all of you for taking your valued time at the ITGA event this week and taking on a number of duties, mostly hosting everyone here. It was the largest event for the International Town and Gown Association that they've been able to hold for all of their years that they've been active. Also, I'd like to thank the University of Maryland staff and city staff who really worked together to make it a very successful event. We're getting a lot of excellent comments coming back. I'd also like to thank a lot of our residents who also joined us, and a lot of our committee members, as well as Ms. Perez as well from the Housing Authority, making a big presence known and learning what some of these other cities and universities are doing to tackle some of the same issues that we're trying to tackle every day. and I think it was very educational for many of them to understand the dynamics we're not in this alone, and that we all face that no matter where these universities are located throughout the world. And it was nice to host people coming from other countries as well and showcase what we're doing here in College Park. Also, on another note, I'd just like to remind residents and council members just to let us know whenever you see graffiti going up in any of the neighborhoods or parks, and just make us aware so that we can take care of those issues, and particularly if they have any kind of gang affiliation associated with them. We want to make sure that we address those very quickly, and make sure that we kind of deter that kind of behavior occurring here in College Park. But thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Any question for Mr. Young? Seeing none, let's do acknowledgement. We have one former elected official online. I actually don't see Ms. Cross anymore. She's. I think I saw her for a minute, but missed her. That's okay. Let's go to the proclamation. So we have 4 proclamations to make tonight. The first one would be Juneteenth, and it reads as follows. City of College Park Proclamation Juneteenth, whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the freedom of enslaved people in Confederate territory, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas the life-altering news about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed by 2.5 years to June 19, 1865, in reaching authorities and enslaved African Americans in Texas, when Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston and announced the end of the Civil War and slavery with these words: "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection until now existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. And whereas the date, June 19th, has a special meaning to many African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas while Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the end of the slavery in the United States, it is often under-recognized and under-celebrated across the nation. And whereas Juneteenth marks the nation's second Independence Day and should be recognized with pride as a significant milestone in this country's history. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park that we recognize the importance of Juneteenth and take this occasion to celebrate the emancipation of African Americans from the slavery in the United States. We acknowledge the lasting, shameful legacy of slavery in the United States and call upon our residents to continue to work to eliminate the disparities of wealth, safety, and quality of life that persist and continue to impact African Americans in College Park and around the country. So proclaimed this 11th day of June 2024, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. Second proclamation is about Pollinator Week, which is June 17 to 23rd. We are not going to have a meeting in the rest of the month, so we're going to make the proclamation tonight. It reads as follows. Pollinator Week 2024, June 17 to 23, 2024, whereas College Park is home to many native wildlife and pollinator species such as birds, bees, hoverflies, and other insects, including leafcutter and mining bees, bumblebees, and monarch butterflies, as well as hummingbirds, which keep our environment healthy and biodiverse. And whereas College Park recognizes that human health ultimately depends on well-functioning ecosystems, and the biodiverse regions can better support food production, protect healthy soil and air quality, and can foster healthy connections between humans and nature. And whereas College Park is working to build a healthy, sustainable, and wildlife-friendly community that brings the many benefits of nature to all corners of our community, and whereas pollinators play an important role in maintaining a healthy ecosystem, local native plant species and wildlife depend on pollination from many different types of organisms, and whereas throughout urban communities, pollinators play a crucial role in maintaining sustainable urban agriculture, particularly in local community and home gardens, and whereas pollinator species are in decline due to many human-driven actions such as habitat loss due to urban sprawl, pesticide use, climate change, and spread of invasive species, causing significant reduction of many pollinator population species. And whereas National Pollinator Week is a national initiative that offers opportunities to individuals and communities to recognize the contribution of these members of our ecosystem and help restore native habitat and support local pollinator species. And whereas College Park will continue to support local, state, and national efforts that protect, restore, and conserve habitat for pollinators, as well as foster a greater connection between residents and wildlife. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park that we recognize June 17 to 23, 2024 as Pollinator Week in College Park, and encourage all residents to participate in community activities that support and celebrate pollinator protection. Proclaimed this 11th day of June 2024, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. The third proclamation I'll be making is on Disability Pride Month, and it reads as follows. Whereas the disability experience is a natural part of our life that intersects with every aspect of identity, including race, ethnicity, and social, educational, economic background, and whereas disability is a diverse identity in and of itself, encompassing those with physical, intellectual, developmental, emotional, invisible, acquired, chronic, device-assisted disabilities, and more. Whereas individuals and disabilities are valued members of our community, and approximately 4% of our city's demographic identify as having a disability. And whereas disabilities should in no way diminish one's right to independence, self-determination, or engagement with society, but rather should be a celebrated aspect of one's personhood. And whereas while the disability community has been fighting for equity and inclusion for generations, segregation on the basis of ability persists, depriving individuals with disabilities from full participation in our society and coming at a great cost both to those with disabilities who desire to live independent, productive, and fulfilling lives, and to their communities which miss out on the rich talents and experiences that those with disabilities have to offer. And whereas the creation and equitable and inclusive environments is a matter of social justice and must be shared responsibility of every person regardless of ability in order for true change to occur. And whereas we must recognize the value and intersectionality of the disability experience in our lives, acknowledge and address the barriers presented to individuals with disabilities in our society, and appreciate that diversity makes our city stronger. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park that July be recognized as the Disability Pride Month in College Park, and encourage all residents to celebrate the countless talents, experience, and contributions of individuals with disabilities, and reaffirm our commitment to take meaningful action to build a city that is inclusive to all. Proclaimed the 11th day of June 2024, Faisal Kabir Mayor, City of College Park, Maryland. And final one is a presentation honoring Nomi Hamid. And it reads as follows: City of College Park proclamation honoring Nomi Hamid, whereas the Nomi Hamid, founder and CEO of Virtual X Kitchen, College Park's first virtual food hall, has owned and operated his business in College Park for 14 years. And whereas Nomi Hamid has served with the Rotary Club of College Park as Sergeant at Arms, Club Programs Chair, Club Admin Chair, Membership Chair 2019 to 2020 President, and now as the Rotary Club District 7620 Governor for 2024 to 2025. And whereas the City of College Park strives to inspire and nurture a welcoming and inclusive community that encourages and embodies engagement, collaboration, and equity throughout the city. And whereas Nomi Hamid has made outstanding contributions toward inspiring and nurturing a welcoming and inclusive community through his community engagement and collaborations. And whereas in 2020, Nomi Hamid mobilized over 150 volunteers to help those isolated by the pandemic and established a hotline where members of the community could call to ask for help with groceries and other tasks. And whereas Nomi Hamid has provided thousands of free meals to local residents to help address food insecurity. And whereas Nomi Hamid has been an avid supporter of Good Neighbor Day, a partnership between the City of College Park, University of Maryland, and Prince George's County Department of Parks and Recreation to do good in the community. And whereas Nomi Hamid has supplied free meals to Good Neighbor Day volunteers since 2012, and to aging College Park residents at Attic Towers and Spelman House since 2023, and whereas since 2023, Nomi Hamid has provided free meals for the annual Sunset Celebration and Interfaith Ramadan Celebration, and partnership between the City, District 2 Council members, EMD, Virtual X Kitchen, and College Park United Methodist Church. Now, therefore, I, Faisal Kabir, Mayor of the City of College Park, do hereby recognize Nomi Hamid for the outstanding contributions to the community and proclaim the appreciation of residents, council, and staff in presenting this proclamation to Nomi Hamid, who has been an integral community leader and friend to the City of College Park. Congratulations on your installations as Rotary Club District 7620 Governor for 2024-2025, so proclaimed this day, which would be 22nd day, I think, we'll be presenting this proclamation of June 2024. Faisal Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. That's all I have, all the proclamations. Now let's go to the amendments and approval of the agenda. Is there an amendment? Mr. Rigg.
Yeah, it's an inquiry for the city manager, I suppose. I noticed that in the packet online, 24G 101 appeared, but that's not in the printed agenda that's over on the table by the door. So I don't know if there's an intention to not include 24G-101 in the agenda tonight, or if it's
What was the topic of that item?
oh, that's the business retention for FOTOM.
The 100,000.
24G 101.
So you're saying it's not on the agenda that was on the table?
It's not on the printed agenda that was on the table.
It should have been. It
Oh,
has
okay.
not been removed.
It's not on the agenda.
It is,
It's in ours, but it's not in that. It's not in the one that's up
it's
here.
not over there.
Right.
I
But it's-
don't know how that would happen.
Okay. All right.
Right.
But it is intended to be.
It is intended to be on.
Okay.
Apologies for that.
No, that's fine. Then I don't
Okay.
have any amendment.
Thank you. Good question, though. It is on the in the packet that was published online. That's it. But you're right, Mr. Rick, it's not in the summary agenda.
So,
right.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the agenda as stated.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, second by Councilmember Rigg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstention? The agenda has been approved. Let's go to the public comments on the consent agenda or non-agenda items. Anyone wants to speak on anything that is not on the consent agenda or non-agenda? Seeing none, I don't see any virtual hands. Let's go and move to the consent agenda. We have 3 consent agenda items. Let me read them out first. The first one is 24G90, which is annual appointments to the city advisory boards for terms that begin on July 1st. Second one is 24G91, which is the approval of the additional FY24 public school education grant in the amount of $2,250 to Byron Heights Elementary School. And third one is 24G100, which is approval of the minutes from the June 3rd, 2024 council meeting.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Hernandez, seconded by Dr. Esters. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? The consent agenda has been approved. Now we move to public hearing and possible action, which is on the 24G84, which is a follow-up from May 21st meeting, petition request for traffic calming in the 4900 block of Iroquois Street. Mr. Jacob?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, members of council. Tonight's item 24-G-84 was initially presented and the public hearing was held as scheduled on May 21st, 2024. The City Council voted at that meeting to delay action to tonight's meeting, and additional public comment will be accepted during tonight's meeting. So in discussion with the city clerk before the meeting, the process, since the public hearing has already been held, would be for the council member to make a motion and get a second, and then the opportunity for public comment for the residents in the room and online would be able to be held after that.
So the way we'll get we'll be still getting public comments, but that will be after motion is moved, and then we can invite public comments the other way?
Yes.
Because public hearing already has taken place.
Yes,
All right.
Can I ask a question? Mr.
absolutely.
Is it Mr. Vasilati?
Yes.
That's a little-
Okay, Mr. Vasilati, I had a question. One of the residents had asked me to inquire about it. Let's just say a speed bump is to be made on this particular street, or some sort of traffic calming measure. As I understand it, there usually is no impact for snow plowing reasons, but could you please, from your city engineering perspective, is there any impact that would be done to the street if there was a traffic calming measure there in terms of snow management, and while we're at it, leaf management as well?
Great question. So we have signs adjacent to all of our speed humps in the city, so our drivers are trained and that they ride across them during all times of year and know what to expect. So we install those signage as well as the reflective striping for nighttime operations as well on the actual speed humps themselves. So our drivers are aware of that, and every snow plan actually includes a map of all of the traffic calming locations in the city, and that's presented every November during the snow training operation day as well. So operationally, no concern for that.
So just to be clear, this particular street wouldn't be taken off of any snow plowing list that we have for the city?
No, absolutely not. All streets are serviced, and traffic calming installations are not. Do not impact how the streets are serviced.
Thank you. Recognizing many of the residents here are here for the public hearing, and given our rules, right, we can't let them speak. I'm supportive of it, but I want to make sure to carry the water of those who have voiced their concerns.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Residents can still be able to
Oh,
speak.
before even voting?
Yeah, make the motion, and
Okay.
then get a second, and then they can.
I apologize. Never mind. I'll give you guys the opportunity. For those who are against it, please voice your concerns here. I spoke with Councilmember Hugh prior to this call, prior to this meeting, excuse me, and I move to approve the installation of a traffic calming device in the 4900 block of Iroquois Street and direct the city engineer to install it at his discretion, or their discretion, or her discretion.
Is there any second? I see a thumb up from.
Second.
Okay. Moved by, it's okay, good. Mayor Protem actually seconded it. So we have a motion on the table. Let's go to the audience. If you want to speak on this item, please come forward to the podium right here. You'll get 3 minutes to speak. I see quite a few residents came. Welcome.
Hi. As a person who's plowed snow, I can tell you
Please
that.
come forward a little bit. Please
As a-
introduce yourself, state your name, and if you're a resident of College
Lori
Park.
Pedersen, and I work at the University of Maryland, but I used to work for the Virginia Department of Transportation. And as a person who's driven a snow plow, I can tell you, you lift them up where the sign is, and you kind of go over them, and sometimes the plow gets completely destroyed. You can't, it's not like a snow plow knows where they start, where they end. I've seen, when I worked at VDOT, I was the person that updated the map that said, do not plow these people ever again. So I know we loved it at VDOT because it meant fewer places got plowed. But I can tell you, because parking is a premium on this street, people will not park where the snowplow is. If they have a low vehicle, they're not parking where the snowplow is. So wherever you put the snowplow, that takes out a couple of spaces. It means those people are going to be parking in front of other people's houses, and we already have contentious deals with that. We already have people who say, don't park in front of my, we've gotten to where people are kind of fisticuffs about it. I'm kind of wondering why we're thinking about doing that when your traffic study said only 8 people on the block signed that they were in approval of it, and your traffic study itself said, now, we don't need to do this. I mean, reading through the whole thing, it said this is kind of pointless. So I'm just wondering why we're still wanting to go forward with it. Does everybody else live on Iroquois? The people who are voting? I mean, you're all excited about going down Iroquois Street and hitting a speed bump with your low car? Because I know I'm not. So I'm just wondering why we're still going ahead with it when the study that you guys posted on the internet said that it wasn't worth bothering with. That's just
Thank
my
you.
opinion.
Yeah. Julia.
Julie Gillern, I live at 4900
Before
Iroquois Street.
before you start speaking, staff, can you talk about the validation of the petition a little bit? Ms. Miller?
Yes. One moment, please.
Take your time.
So the city code says that petitions can be submitted for speed bumps and have to be approved by 60% of the residents that live on the street. And this petition was validated as enough people did sign the petition.
Thank you.
And then the engineering department conducts the traffic study. And the traffic study follows the warrants that are in the manual on uniform traffic control devices.
Right.
And so it's an objective study. They put the counters out for 2 weeks, and they take the 2 worst days of traffic data in order to develop their recommendation of whether the warrants for speed and for traffic volume were met.
Thank you. Thanks for the validation. Ms. Miller?
May I?
Thank you very much. So the residents understand that on the previous meeting, there was an action to table so that the council members from District 1 could go back and talk to the residents on Iroquois. So that's why we are here tonight, and that's why we're here listening to either your opinion for it or your opinion that you disagree with it. And then we'll take appropriate action after we listen to our District 1 colleagues. I just want to clear that up, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Anand.
Can I just add, Mr. Mayor, that just because many of the folks that are here today weren't able to make it in the previous meeting, and one of the things that Mr. Halpern stated during the previous presentation was commenting towards the study not being like up to the meets requirement. I think he said most, if not all, speed bumps around the city do not meet that requirement. Mr. Vesaletti, could you please?
That is correct. In my 3 years here, we've had one, and that was on Branchville Road, where we found excessive speeding on that street. Most other streets do not meet the both warrants. Some of them may meet one or the other, but we really try and put together a comprehensive report here to look at roadway geometry, and we also found that there's no geometric conditions that would prevent any installations of traffic calming on this block as well.
Thank you. Let's continue the conversation after the hearing. Let's finish. Thank you. Ms. Jolie, please come forward.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Welcome. Please state your
I
name.
appreciate the invitation to come back. I was one of the people that was not available for this. When I do hear something about.
Please state your name and if you're
Julie Gillern, 4900 Iroquois Street.
Thank you.
When I hear the phrase, "we don't need it," I don't feel included in that "we." I do need it. So I'd like to say there's a few of us who could be that part of that "we," of the needing it. I'm probably addressing something that's a little bit off of the data piece. But as a resident who walks the street twice a day, dog walking, gardening, just exercising, and I admit to being a part of the elderly population. So I want that "we" included in the "we don't need it." I'd just like to point out it's something very benign, this speed bump. I've even heard it referred to as a soft bump. I love that. Somebody said they would almost agree to the soft bump. I'm all for the soft bump. So something as benign as a speed hump seems like a really good solution to vulnerability, to street safety, as opposed to, I'm just hearing it from a neighbor of mine today. My dog walker was telling me about her neighborhood just on the other side of Rhode Island is starting the sidewalk initiative. And I'm sure there are plenty of us who don't want to sacrifice even this much of our lawn to a sidewalk initiative. So I think the speed bump just seems like a really democratic, agreeable application to increase not just the safety, but the perception of safety. Now, I will say also that there are an increased number of vehicles per house in all of College Park. We know that. As I walk the dog, I love to play the game of how many cars for just these two houses. And we all know that. In our backyards, in our front yards, and on the street. So the Iroquois Street is definitely a victim to that. And we have a parking problem because there's sometimes 5 vehicles to a single home. And that includes the driveway. So we're dealing with that. And we're also dealing with not having sidewalks. With the increased population of vehicles, both on the street, so even dodging a car is sometimes difficult because there's no space to get in and out of the clogged street. So I just want to give that view of the street from a pedestrian. I'm also a driver, but we keep our car on the driveway. So as a pedestrian and dog walker and elderly woman, I'd love to increase the safety of our streets. And so I think there's a few people here that would like to add to that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks so much. Who is next? Please come forward to the podium. I'm sure there are a few. Gillian. Please state your name and if you're a resident of College.
Sure. My name is Andrew Tarter. I am a homeowner on 4900 block of Iroquois since 2018. I live there with my wife and my two sons, age 5 and 3. Just wanted to thank the committee. I was one of the people that was traveling for work and was unable to attend the first session, so I wanted to thank the committee for offering this opportunity. I also wanted to really quickly thank the engineers for initiating this study. I think it provides some helpful insight into the traffic on Iroquois. Like a lot of Americans, after the pandemic, I transitioned to full-time remote work. My office is on the second floor of my house. I sit by the window, and from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, if you walk by our house, you can look up and see me working away at my computer with my window as a sort of nice reprieve from the office work. Related to that reality of my work life, I am a keen observer of who walks up and down our street. And so I'm familiar with everyone that walks a dog up and down the street, both my immediate neighbors and people that use Iroquois to come down off of other streets as well. And so I observe it. The one thing I want to say about this study is, and I'm no engineer, but the study involved having counting strips placed at a corner. And in the letter that I submitted to at the last session of the council, that corner requires slowing down, particularly when people park along it. There's quite a few cars that park on the corner, and from either direction you're required to slow down unless you want to go around that corner at a really high speed. So my humble opinion, what the study recorded was people slowing down for the counter. The lion's share of speeding on the 4900 block of Iroquois happens on the straightaway that's after the corner and between the service road. And that is the location that I would recommend for a traffic device. Not only because I've observed cars speeding up and down that straightaway, but because I have young children. I'm about to start instructing my eldest, age 5, how to ride a bicycle. I'd like to do that in the street for all the reasons that were articulated most recently by Julie. I share that opinion that there is speeding on the road, that the volume has increased since the traffic calming improvements on Rhode Island proper. People are trying to find creative ways to circumvent what I think are very important traffic calming improvements on that road as well. And then finally, an issue of sampling. The traffic counter study sampled for 2 weeks. Now, if we counted the temperature for 2 weeks right now, you might be misled to believe that College Park is always in the 80s. Or if the traffic study occurred in the winter, for example, and you counted 2 weeks of the weather in the winter, you might be under the impression that it's always cold here. But we have regional variability of weather. We also have variability of traffic flows in a college town where sometimes school is in session, sometimes it's not. Sometimes there are obstructions on a road on Route 1, the Highway 1. Sometimes there are obstructions and accidents on the Rhode Island main road that cause people to use these roads. So I'm not saying that the study was perfect or imperfect. I think it does tell us some important stuff, but the major drawbacks from my point are that it was conducted at a curve, which required people to slow anyways, and that it only sampled for 2 weeks is not representative of the variable flows over the course of the year. Thank you very much. Appreciate the chance.
Thank you so much.
Voice my opinion.
Right on time. All right, who is next? Please come forward. Let me recognize former City Council member, District 1 City Council member David Miles Million, actually. And former District 2 Councilmember Maxine Gross is in the audience as well. Yeah, thanks
Hello,
for
Mayor and
joining.
Council, my name is Dave Milligan. I've lived on the 4900 block of Iroquois for, I think, 31 years. I'm not a fan of speed bumps to begin with. They're certainly not the most elegant of traffic calming devices, but our block of Iroquois is a narrow block, and I don't foresee a sidewalk anywhere in our future. It's one of the older blocks where the right-of-ways aren't that well defined in the plats, and 3 of us in a row have elevated yards, which could create some issues in even trying to do a sidewalk. I am now retired, and I see a lot of people, including several of my neighbors have dogs that they walk regularly. Some of the neighbors have kids in carriages, and people up around the corner come by our house a lot with kids in carriages. I jog when my knees allow it, and I found out when I got new earbuds and they were noise canceling, don't wear both of them. I had cars come up from behind me and go right off my hip that I didn't even know were there because most of our neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks. So while it didn't meet the standards for speed, I think the issue is safety and awareness for the pedestrians. I think we have a wonderful neighborhood with a very diverse, energetic, and intelligent group of people. And I know there's some division on this because speed bumps aren't our favorite, and they're not necessarily good for our car's undercarriage either. But if they're a more gentle hump, and they're also a reminder, as was pointed out, there's a sign, and I think that's the bigger issue, awareness of safety. A lot of people, for whatever reason, don't give people, elderly as someone pointed out, some of us are, elderly or people with carriages or people with dogs on a leash who you can't always control within a very narrow thing, because when the cars go by, they come very close to you. And so I think this is not necessarily the best solution, but I think it's the only solution we have at hand right now. So I'd appreciate the mayor and council's attention to this in getting a traffic calming device on 4900 block. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, is there anyone else? If you want to speak from online, you can just raise your virtual hand. We'll bring you in. Mr. Ashwin, please come forward. Mr. Ashwin, right? Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and the council. It's good to see you again. My name is Ashwin Baraskar, and I'm a resident at the 4900 block of Iroquois, 4901 Iroquois Street. I won't take much time because I was here at the May 21st meeting speaking to you about my belief that we do need a traffic calming device. But I think other residents here have put it across very eloquently why we do need one. I just wanted to say that I know that not every single resident is in favor of it. I did speak to our neighbor Jim French here about this, and I was trying to assure him that I would support him in not having the speed bump if it were approved to be placed near the corner. So I do want all the residents on the block to at least feel happy with the outcome. I think it's in the center of the stretch of the block that it's really needed. That's where the speeds are greatest. So would ask for it to be installed there if it were approved, and not at the end of the block where certain residents would be really opposed to it and find it inconvenient.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Looks like Mr. French wants to come and speak. Please come forward. State your name if you're a resident of College Park, just to follow the procedure.
I feel like one of the elderly group.
Welcome.
My name is Jim French. I live at 4807, but because of the way the street numbering is, I'm only 3 houses away from my neighbors who are speaking here. A person goes to the dentist. They say, "Doc, I need a filling. My tooth hurts." So the doctor x-rays his tooth and comes in with a big smile. "Look, your tooth is great. There's no cavity there. Your problem must be coming from something else." And the patient says, "Well, go ahead and drill it and put a filling in anyway." That's what we're doing with this speed bump, okay? And if there were no downside to it, I'd say, fine, go ahead, put it in. If there were a speeding issue, I would say, fine, put it in. But let me read to you some of the actual data that the traffic survey found, if I can find it. They measured cars for 1 week, actually 8 days. And then I guess because of an engineering principle, they picked the 2 fastest consecutive days out of that measure and did a deep dive analysis of it. Here's what they found. For one thing, the 2 consecutive fastest days were the weekend. So we are our own worst enemies. The weekend is when the residents are going to the shopping center, for whatever that's worth. But the average speed on those 2 consecutive fastest days was 17.3 miles an hour. People on average are driving 30% below the speed limit. The fastest recorded speed was 28.6. Now, that doesn't even qualify as speeding by their criteria. There were about 115 cars per day. That went up when they included the full week study to 130. So somewhere around 125 cars a day. Now, the criteria for a speed bump is that 15% of the traffic volume has to exceed by 15% the speed limit. Okay? We're not anywhere close to that. On the deep dive 2-day study, nobody exceeded that value. On the 2-day deep dive study.
Mr. French, if you could please wrap up. Please continue, but wrap up.
Okay, I'm sorry. On the 2-day study, only 5 cars went faster than 25 miles an hour. Okay? So I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I went on long. But there are negatives, as some of my neighbors have pointed out. Okay? And what we're really addressing here, and I will agree with, is a perception of traffic risk. I walk the block too, and I perceive traffic risk. We have a 26-foot wide road, a lot of on-street parking, and when a car comes down and there are 2 cars parked there, the pedestrian has to step out of the way. But a speed bump is not going to address that. And what it will also do is bring some negatives. And that just doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you. Thanks so much for speaking. Is anyone else wants to speak? I do not see any virtual hands.
Very quickly.
Oh, Abhijit.
Hi.
Please. Thank you.
First
Welcome.
name
Please
Abhijit,
state your
last-
name.
First name Abhijit, last name Dasgupta. I live not only on 4900 block, I live in house number 4900 on 4900 block. I've lived there for about 20 years. I work at University of Maryland, so this is my home and area of work. I commute every day, typically by bicycle. As you heard, so I'll briefly summarize, as you heard people speak, we've got a narrow street, no sidewalks, cars parked on both sides, and not just cars. Nature of traffic has changed in our neighborhood, so there are large trucks parked on our street. So, and we've got diversity in terms of speed of traffic. We've got, as you heard, walkers, children, strollers, dogs on leashes, bicyclists like myself, and dodging in and out of parked cars has become quite a challenge when you've got cars speeding one way or the other, either way. We did hear quite a bit about the fact that there's not enough of traffic volume to require by the statistical laws require a speed bump. I respectfully put to you that even one car in that kind of diverse traffic speeds, even one car speeding is a risk too much. I work in safety engineering at the University of Maryland. We go by the worst case, not by the average case, right? We don't look at average numbers, we look at what's the worst case situation, and that's what tells us what the risk factors are. I would humbly suggest that given the traffic congestion that we have with parked cars and the diversity of traffic speeds, I think a speed bump would be in everyone's interest to slow the traffic down, reduce risks. Okay.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I have a point of order that I failed to mention. It's pretty important.
Is there any objection? If there's no objection, if it's a quick one, please come forward.
In that traffic study, there's a rule quoted, which, depending on how you want to define the word supported, could make all of this discussion moot. Okay? And that says traffic calming devices will only be installed to address documented safety or traffic concerns supported by traffic engineering studies. Now, it doesn't say examined by traffic engineering studies, it says supported. So I read that to say that the city shouldn't be putting up speed bumps that are not supported. And this is a city rule. I'm just reading what's in your
Thank you.
data.
Thank you so much. All right, I do not see any virtual hands, so let's come back to the city council. Is there any comment before take the vote? Do I see any hand raised? Mr. Rigg?
As you all know, I am not a fan of speed bumps. I voted for speed bumps when they meet the warrant, which is rarely, if ever. I think there's been one that I voted for, and one that I voted for under duress because out of courtesy, but generally don't vote for them. And there's a few reasons why. One reason is, residents, in my experience, you don't get to dictate where the speed bump goes. If it goes in front of your house and you don't want the speed bump, that's where it needs to be. It needs to be where our staff determine it need to be. Similarly, the sign need to be where the sign needs to be. Speed bumps also come at a cost.
$2,000, I think.
Yeah, both about a $2,000 for installation, but also, a cost to, they have some associated noise, they have some associated car damage, and, people make fun of me, but when you roll over it with a broken bone, they really hurt. And finally, I firmly believe two more things. First, I think it should come after sidewalks. If the concern is pedestrian safety, we have a technology that takes care of that and takes care of it much more reliably than a speed bump is, and that's a sidewalk. I don't understand why we jump immediately to speed bumps for pedestrian safety when they're demonstrably less effective than just building a sidewalk. And also, and finally, the last thing, and this is the thing I find perhaps the most frustrating, is, we have a policy, we put a lot of process behind these speed bumps, and yet we override our policy almost 100% of the time, which is what I predict we're going to do tonight. We have here a list of warrants, none of which are met. The only criteria which is met is a sort of public process for a petition. And we're going to sort of say, well, thanks for spending all that time, money, and resources on a study. We're going to override it anyway, even though the warrant's not met, and then we just have it installed. I would be much more comfortable if we simply just made it a public process, if we simply just stopped at the petition. Why bother studying? Why bother spending all the resources to do all these other things, traffic measurement and so forth, if we're simply just going to install a speed bump on request? I probably would vote more in favor of them then. But as it is, we're poised to once again override our own policy. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Adams, then Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, and then Mr. Hugh. Mr. Adams?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for the residents to testify. And I think as Councilmember Rigg was discussing, the policy, I believe, is well over a decade old. And I think we need to revisit that in a timely fashion. I think saying that we need 15% of traffic to exceed the speed limit by 20% to warrant a safety measure, to me, is well outside of the norm of what we consider the mission of College Park, to keep our residents safe. And so I just want to thank residents that were supporting the speed bump as well as opposing it, because you both came with very credible discussion points, and I think it's really on us over the next few months or years or whatever it takes to really look at this policy to make sure it reflects what we believe is the best path forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I will also echo thank you to all the residents who came out tonight. It was many more individuals who came out to testify for and against, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the effort that my colleagues from District 1 put out in regarding to making sure you receive the information, because that's vitally important. I concur with Councilman Rigg that we have a policy that's very outdated, and we really need to look at what we're going to do moving forward as far as public safety for our residents, because that is a big concern. But having this, and we continue to have the debate and the deliberation and the public hearing, we're still not solving the issue. What are we going to do for our residents for their safety? And that's the main concern that I have. What I would like for us to do is think out the box and ask our staff to think about what other measures we can do to implement besides the traffic calming device, because it's not working right now, and it's not the fault of the staff. It's the policy decision makers, which is us up here on the dais. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Hugh and then Mr. Hernandez. Mr. Hugh?
Thank you. So I'll just mention one thing about the study. The study was done not in the space where the problem has occurred. I have been on Iroquois on that straightaway stretch, and more often than not have felt unsafe because of vehicles speeding past me too close. And where a speed bump would have slowed them down and just, help everybody feel safer. So as for the study, I think it could have been, placed in a better location to get a better results. So I'll leave it at that. However, I guess I can just say that I will support it given my experience, given what the residents have asked for, given that the placement of the study wasn't as best placed as it could have been. So I will be supporting it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez.
I'm glad a lot of us are ready to talk about process because there's a couple of things I want to talk about later today. So from my personal experience, having walked, so I live 3 or 4 blocks away from Iroquois on the service road of Rhode Island, and I've walked the street several times. I know many of the residents that live there. That it feels like a blind corner, that turn there. So from my personal experience, I've always thought there was a traffic calming measure that's required there. I'm not an expert and defer to the city engineers on how that would work. I know a sidewalk would be a difficult discussion given how small that street is, but also recognize the city's strategic goal is to establish sidewalks. It's just this part of the city is very different than as I've driven around the other districts because much of what is Hollywood, Daniel Park, and Oak Spring used to be like just dirt roads, right? And we put cement down at some point, in the 50s or 60s, and we have these oddly shaped streets. So it's got its own unique charm, and I think that a traffic calming measure that a majority of the residents have is something that we have to respect the democratic process of them having signed for the petition and requested it. But not only that, showed up. I will talk about just separate from the data that is being provided by the city engineers. There is a perception of safety that's hard to really capture. For me, it happens on the service road all the time. People speed through. In a blind corner environment where our neighborhoods aren't exactly the most well lit, I would hate for somebody to just drive through extremely quickly. I thank and appreciate everyone who came, to include those who do not support it. This is how decisions are made when we have a discussion, and hope that you all can go back to the neighborhood and act neighborly with one another as as best as we can. All right, Mr. Mayor, back to you, sir.
Thank you. I know not everyone is agreeing to the proposal, but at some point probably you'll be all happy. I do not predict, but most likely the petition will be approved. Just that there is a petition to put a speed bump, but there is also a petition to take out a speed bump. So if you guys collectively not happy, you can take it out as well.
Mr. Mayor, can we vote, sir?
Yes, let's do the roll call. Should I be doing roll call or?
So I made the motion. I just didn't know if we.
Okay, let's do the roll call, starting with you, Mr. Hernandez.
Aye.
Mr. Hill?
Aye.
Dr. Esters?
Aye.
Ms. Whitney?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Mackey?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
And Mr. Rigg?
No.
All right, with a vote of 7-1, it passes. Thank you all who came. and let's stay engaged and let's work like a happy family. You're a beautiful community. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go to, and I want to thank the staff for your work as well. Let's go to our action items. We have actually 5 of them, I believe. Let's start with 24G92, which is the approval of the property use agreement in support of the application of a Class B a BLX license for the use of Everland Inc.
Dr. Kabir, point of order, I was wondering if there may be a tolerance on council for moving the agenda and moving the FOTOM issue earlier, just because I'm aware there's a few residents who are in the room, and there may be others online who wish to speak about that issue in particular, and since we have some other issues that, we don't have, that are being represented by professionals, shall we say, I was wondering if we might consider doing that.
I second that.
So you need a motion?
I move to suspend the rules for
Suspend the rule.
purposes of moving up item 24-G-101 to the top of the action agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? So we'll be talking about,
I thank my colleagues for their
FOTOM.
forbearance.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, please take it away.
Good evening. Okay, it works. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The attached application is being considered for retention and attraction grant. FOTOM Restaurant is located at 7313 Baltimore Avenue and is a regionally acclaimed Vietnamese and excuse me, Thai-style restaurant with 9 employees. They are seeking retention assistance from the City of College Park in the amount of $100,000. These funds will be used for equipment purchases and fitting out a new space. For 13 years, FOTOM has called College Park home and has become a retail anchor in downtown College Park. FOTOM is the latest concern to seek relocation assistance due to redevelopment. Displacement is due to plans by landlord Green Hill Capital Corporation to construct a multifamily apartment building where FOTOM is currently located. Green Hill has not offered any compensation nor relocation assistance to FOTOM. However, FOTOM has secured a new retail location with occupancy of 2,100 square feet at the new Union or Knox complex located at 4350 Knox Road. The newly executed lease agreement with H&R Retail commits FOTOM for a period of 20 years. That breaks down to 1 10-year term and 2 5-year options. The city projects that the tax assessment for the entire complex at Union or Knox will generate annual tax revenues of approximately $308,000 or more. In anticipation of further disruptions by future development and in anticipation of new business, my office remains engaged with merchants searching for commercial space in the city and advising of our retention and attraction opportunities. We have structured a program for assistance based on economic impact to the city of available commercial space, retention of employees, and cost of build out for the new spaces. As for required documentation, my office requires a fully executed lease, construction cost estimates, and owner contribution. Ms. Ha Tran, who's attending virtually this evening, is the owner of FOTOM, has committed her personal savings and secured financing commitments from contractors to finish the project. If the grant funding is approved, a memorandum of understanding will be drafted by our city attorney and executed by both parties. Take any questions.
Thank you. Is there
Thank
any
you.
question for Mr. Williams? Mr. Hernandez.
Thanks, Mr. Williams, for that presentation, your hard work. As an office of one, I greatly appreciate the fact that you could respond to all of our questions and still have the time to go through all these grants and applications. I've shared with my colleagues and the residents that I'm extremely torn when it comes to supporting the current business and retention grant program, as is due to, from my perception, the need for additional considerations that act in terms of guardrails for the particular program. but I'd like to ask you a couple questions to first better understand where we stand as a city when it comes to this program. How much money is left in the budget for the business attraction and retentions grant?
I believe that figure should be approximately $115,000. I can check that with our group.
For 24 or 25?
That's for 24. I'm sorry. Yes, for fiscal year 24, and we're still currently there.
And so, if this grant were to be approved, that would leave a remaining 15,000 approximately?
15,000 for the next 3 weeks.
For the next 3
until until we get fully funded for 2025.
Okay. So, I think you said it, and if you could just remind us all on council, how many businesses do we anticipate coming from that particular development to the city to request a business retention grant?
So the green, if we're speaking about the current Green Hill Corporation, and that's here just next door to our city hall.
Yes, sir.
A block or so down. I believe we have, including Photom, we should have 3 viable candidates. So they would be Richie's Colombian and Northwest Chinese. And then there are others that could express some desires. I believe there's a tea place down there that could want to stay. Again, these businesses, when the plans came up to by Green Hill to reconstruct and turn it into apartment buildings, they were not offered any assistance. These businesses.
And just to remind the residents, the city doesn't really control much of our land right use, and that's usually the county. Has the county offered any economic development funds for these businesses?
I'd like to express it as a blanket no, but it's not that simple. The county and its economic development corporation, as well as many staff from the county exec's office and from our county council's office, has expressed a desire to help. I think it becomes a little bit challenging to get money out of the door for businesses if you're going through the county. I've certainly requested assistance from the county, but to no avail just yet. And I haven't given up on them, that's for sure.
We thank you for those efforts. I think any of us who've communicated with some of our county offices know how little bandwidth they have to respond to some of our calls. Please continue the effort. So I'm thinking if we're expecting at least 2 other businesses to come, we kind of have to establish some sort of caps, or at least an expectation for those applicants. And I understand there's a case-by-case review of every case, but like I think as I had understood, Photom's going to receive, I want to say, $300,000 from the development, in addition to the $100,000 that we would be providing, and of course the rest, privately funded through their own personal capacity. I'm concerned that like if some other business is trying to build out, if you said Richie Colombian or Northwest Chinese, both which have had lines outside of their restaurant because of their popularity, come to us and ask us for funds, that we're not going to have anything available to support them. Could you help ease that concern somehow? Is there anything we can do to be helpful?
Well, thank you for the concern, and these are 3 establishments, Richie's Colombian, Northwest Chinese, as well as Photom, have really, in my estimation, put College Park on the map. And they're very well regarded places for families and visitors to come and visit. When an applicant comes to us, we don't necessarily try to tell them how much they can apply for. And that could be kind of used as like, hey, well, maybe we should tell them or dictate to them how much is available. But what we try to do is just try to first see what their needs are. I think it's a honest way to get someone to come clean and show us everything that they need, and then we can make a decision. And remember, the reason why I'm here is to get your permission. And if you feel like these limits are too much, or they need to be shortened, or we could abbreviate them, that's what it is. So there's no wrong answer here. We just want to be able to address the displacement in the city amongst our businesses, especially the ones that we know about in all of these establishments. All three of these establishments are regionally known and celebrated. So, is it a fair attempt to perhaps cut and make sure that we have enough monies to take us through the next fiscal year? I'm all up for hearing it, and again, I just want to make sure that the program works for the people who can display and show us that they need the assistance, and we can keep them here. So I just bring to you this request.
Related question, it might be helpful, Mr. Williams, if you could tell us, so we are going to FY25, most likely if the next applicant will be getting the grant from FY25 budget. How much has been allocated in FY25 business retention grant?
I believe that is, just because I've gotten a million notes here, I believe that's going to be close to $200,000 for the FY, 175?
Okay.
I'll just have to check my notes.
That's super helpful, Mr. Mayor, because if we approve today, right, that'll be $325,000 having gone to 4 businesses, 4 single businesses in the same kind of category, right? All restaurants, or am I wrong? Please correct me, sorry.
That's if no one else comes along. And again, I've written several emails on this week.
Mm-hmm.
We still maintain an effort to attract new businesses.
Sure.
So
Oh, okay.
we want to, yes, we want to continue to engage the businesses that want to come here and for the first time. So we want to have those funds available as well. So, but if you wanted to just throw the proposition out of just the 4 candidates or 3 or 4 candidates, then the funds can be spent that way, if you will.
Yeah, it's for me, the biggest concern is that we're giving it to like such a large dollar amount to a number of businesses that in my personal heart is I'm not necessarily comfortable with. I wish we could do more. I do have like 2 more questions. Like, would it be more beneficial? Is it more beneficial to allocate larger amounts to a few businesses or distribute smaller amounts to funding a greater number of businesses?
Again, a wise question. I would hate to run into the proposition of maybe bringing a really dynamic proposition before you and telling the concern before you apply, all we consider would be 50,000 or 20,000. Again, it's to get my approach is to get the businesses to come forth and come clean about what their needs are so that we can really start talking about and put it on the table and talk about the possibilities. Just because an application requests $100,000 doesn't mean we do that. As a matter of fact, I think council passed the application for prime time going into the Cambria, and they had asked for a whole lot more. I think their ask was about $165,000, and we granted $25,000.
Right.
So it'll scale, and you'll have to use your judgment, and I'll testify as to what I think the needs are, and we'll go from there.
And I'll close with this. When we had the discussion in January, I think it was my number 2 meeting. So I watched the video of myself there, and I was just like, oh, I didn't do a great job. But during that meeting, we had all talked about like revisiting this so that we could standardize somewhat more this program. And really, what my goal is not only to retain and attract, but to keep these businesses here. Right, so I'm struggling with how we can ensure that the allocation of business retention funds strikes a balance between providing substantial support to the individual businesses like Photom, while also assisting like a diverse range of businesses within our community. And I don't know what that looks like. Is it for, if it's a $100,000 loan, I think one of the ideas that was tossed to me either by a resident or someone else was if it's a $100,000 loan, is it possible for us to do a 5-year $100,000 grant or loan that's forgivable over the 5 years, forgiving 20 grand, 20 grand again, 20 grand again, and so on for 5 years, would allow us to make sure that that business sticks around for 5 years. I mean, these are just options and ideas that I'd like to be able to have and really kind of develop this program. I understand that we had this conversation for business retention and attraction following the Campus Village shop redevelopment surprise, let's just call it. I think right now we're at a calmer time where we can have a more drawn out conversation, and I'd really like to see that before voting. But I mean, I also recognize that that might be in the minority of council. So I'll conclude here unless you have any comments.
No, I'm open for all the questions. I just would, I would say that as we think about perhaps issuing payments to different businesses, even restaurants or science or biotech, we have to think about the word impact. And so when we're able to give Hatron and Photom a lump sum of dollars to get their build out done, to get up and going, remember they're also keeping people on the payroll. We have to want to see some impact there. And also I would say for Photom that they put a lot into going over to the Union on Knox project, and they've and I just think they've shown that they're willing to take the risk by virtue of signing a 20-year lease. A 20-year lease is a commitment, and they're doing it with a first-class organization, TDC, H&R Retail, known throughout the region for their first-class or Class A businesses that they sign up. So when I look at that, not to convince you to not lower the amount, I just want to make sure that we're being impactful with some of the ideas. I know that in a few weeks I come back with a discussion on this. Just particularly, I hear the word guardrails. One of the things I tried to do to show that we do have guardrails is to, as our city attorney draws up a memorandum of understanding, we have plenty of checks and balances and enforcement rights to see what's going on with the project, see how funds are being spent, and we can, it gives me comfort, gives my office comfort to go in and talk to the city manager about the process and what people are doing. As you know, we have Habanero kind of coming around the stretch with their project across the street. These are very good points, so I look forward to the conversation.
I'm sorry, one more question. Mr. Williams, the only reason I have so much pause is because if there's a business that is even attempting to build out, I'm thinking of the Hollywood, the Carrollton Enterprise building or any of those, like if they need help, right? I want there to be funds, and same across the other districts, but like I always want there to be a reserve fund available, and I just feel like leaving 15 is a little low. So we'll talk about it.
I respect that, and trust me, no one has been a bigger fan of Carrollton Enterprises than me. So we'll continue to try to work with them and do all we can.
Good points. So, Mr. Adams, is it a question for Mr. Williams, or you want to comment after we take the vote, or before I take the vote?
It's a comment, but I can wait if you prefer.
Okay, let's wait. Let's wait. Is there any question? Further question?
There's a few discussion items on this.
Mr. Williams, thanks for coming before us regarding this. I did want to mention a couple of things and ask a question. First, I appreciate the discussion of guardrails, and I believe that moving forward, what we should be doing is identifying a certain dollar amount that we will give businesses moving forward, because I think that this has been, it has varied over the times that we've been doing this. The other thing that I want to say is, just like other grants, people have to apply for these grants. So as much as I do appreciate Mr. Hernandez's concern about making sure that we have funds, people need to apply for the funds. We don't need them to just sit there, because then what we should be doing is considering another use for the money if people are not using it. I think it is important that you've shared this is a business that has been here for 13 years and a business that is now willing to stay here for another 20, make a commitment to the community. I think that that is very telling as well. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, if you could talk briefly about your efforts to share this information about the grant with businesses within the city. Because again, there's a point at which business owners take a responsibility for applying for funds.
So thank you. I don't want to be cavalier in talking about my efforts, but of course we get the calls and we're always in the know of what businesses is shuttering or who wants to move. We're in constant, almost daily contact about what's going on in College Park and in the market, and who's coming, who's going, who needs, who doesn't need. But we really try to go out and talk about the business retention program in the sense of just speaking about College Park and all of the dynamics that we have working in our favor. We are a very, very rich economic power with respect to retail, and our foot traffic analysis show how much money is being spent here and who's spending it and why they're spending it. And so I market the program not to people who I just like or something like that. I market the program to businesses that are constantly coming in and out, who may be thinking about coming into College Park. And we just say, we don't say it's free money. We talk about what the trade-offs are. How are you enhancing College Park? No, we don't want a vape store. We want to see how many employees you're going to bring. That we got some exciting news coming up about some of the big box stores that are getting replaced up north. We have some facilities that are going to take place in Hollywood, where we're going to not only do a urgent care facility, we're going to do a physical therapy session office as well. So I try to go out and just talk about the good of College Park, and it's to everybody. As far as where the application is two places online that you can get it, and it's collegepark.life as well as .gov, and under the economic and business area on the website. But it's really marketed to people who want to stop and listen. We're constantly talking to the agents and the new developers. As we know, Union or Knox, they have 9 retail spots over there. And so we want to always, we're talking about, who's coming, who's going, who needs. We try to go local with our assistance, because the national, we get a lot of blowback on why you're helping the national people when you could help a Photom or someone's local Richie's Columbian. So help is offered, and help is not just offered in a monetary fashion. We try to also, help with information that we can make a better business for some of the some of the businesses. We have Northwest Chinese is going to take a space here in City Hall. And they're going to take up the Taim space. We know all about that. So we just try to continue to do things, and it's not offering money first. It's about what makes College Park works and the things that we try to offer. And I have to say, again, we're very wealthy right now. We have an educated workforce. We have an educated residential aspect to us. We have some challenges with that, but a lot of businesses, when they look at College Park and it's being marketed to others, they talk about the foot traffic and they talk about the dynamics of our demographics that we have here. And I use the word rich and wealthy.
Thank you, Mr.
That's what we are.
Any question? Further questions? No. Thank you. Yeah, let's go to Ms. Mackey first. Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, is that, I think you raised your hand first. No, it's a comment.
Oh,
Mayor Pro Tem, please go first.
My question is, have you specifically had requests or applications from Rich's Colombian or from Northwest Chinese?
No, not yet. They're on their way, but
They're
I
on
don't
their way.
have them in
Okay.
hand. So this is, again, kind of going back to Mr. Hernandez and Dr. S's point. I only have what I have, and that's
Gotcha.
what I present, yes.
Okay.
It's coming.
Gotcha, but we don't really have a sense until we get that application of what their needs might be.
I don't have it, yeah. That's
Right.
right, correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
That's all? Good question.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam
Mayor,
Pro Tem.
and thank you, Mr. Williams, for giving us this opportunity for us to have this discussion, but also providing us some historical information in regards to this, because this is a new nuance for the City of College Park and the council. We haven't done this. I remember the first time we tried to enter the waters of economic development was a couple years when I first got on the council, and if I look to the left of me across the street, that was our first time, and we didn't do a good job of that. And we've come a long way since then. And I think what I would like to ask you, and maybe also going to Dr. Esther's question and maybe lifting it up a little bit more about the transparency, because I was asked that several times today about transparency in regards to our business retention program. How do we determine the scale of intensity of looking for a mix of new business as well as existing businesses? And if I'm off the mark, please ask me to be more refine my question to you. But I think I'm truly trying to hone in on the transparency and how we are here now and how you're looking forward in the future.
Thank you for the question. So again, I'll go back and just, I can only tell you that it's not about dealing with people who I only like or that I just heard of. We go out and we find out what spaces are available, commercial spaces. Most of them will be on the dining or restaurant side. As for the biotech side and some of the office needs, we have the Rise Zone program that we market. Still hasn't kicked off yet, and that's no fault of ours. It's the way it goes in terms of we have 4 different jurisdictions. That's the Prince George's County EDC, the university, Riverdale Park, and then us. So we all as a collective group are looking for a biotech and technology startup firms so that we can provide rental assistance to those firms in our respective areas, geographic areas. So transparency, I can only perhaps give you comfort in that in saying that as we come around and consider these applications, if there is something or a question or more information, I can only go find that out and seek that for you and try to provide you answers. It's probably the only way I could answer is that if you have a doubt or concern, we can go explore it and provide you with some answers to give you some comfort or perhaps to give you some discomfort, in terms of what else you want to find out. But when we get the application, I can talk about that a little bit. So we intake the application and we look at what the stated needs are, and we go to the property, the said property there's interest in. We go in, we look at it, we confirm that those things are there or not there. We do some homework on the applicant in terms of finding out what they're doing, how they're doing. One of the neat things about Photon's application is that they showed a constant, like the last 3 years, they were just by 15%. 1 year, 3 years ago, $850,000 in sales revenue. Next year is 1.1. The year after that, which is last year, 23, they turned in sales of $1.5 million. It shows us some strength in that, and those are the financials. Transparency, that's what I get. So you got me sign tax returns, sign 1120S forms. I'm okay with that. And we try to talk, then we look at what we want to see in terms of the city, how many people are being employed, how many people we're going to keep here working in the city, and then again, the legacy and reputation. Remember, even before Campus Village, we were always concerned with keeping our character, and so we try to weigh those factors and come to you and present you with an opportunity to make a decision.
And I only have one other question, and then going back in regards to Councilman Hernandez, asked a question about the county. So really, if any municipality, because there's only 27 municipalities in Prince George's, wants to create its own economic hub, it is really incumbent upon the municipality, because the county is really not going to give any money directly to a municipality to help.
It seems that way, unless there's an opportunity for a strong partnership. It seems like it's going to be hard play to get some to get direct, impactful financial infusion of money from the county. I would never give up on that, but it appears that way. But I'll keep trying just because it's the thing to do, and I think we College Park are drawing in some of the national names that the county has desired to see come here. You take Trader Joe's, you take how well we're performing up on the hill where IKEA is and the stores that are up there, and then the incredible visitation rate at Marketplace, where the Shoppers Food and the Home Depot compound is. Last year we had 1.5 million visitors come to the parking lot over there and do business in that area. The problem is I got to get them to come down the hill once they finish. They keep going on the Beltway and they leave. So not all of them, but it's just another thing we just have to work on and try to make more of a traction down here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can we, maybe, if there's no, Ms. Mackey, you have a question?
No,
That's,
my colleagues have already asked my
okay,
questions.
that's good to know. Let's take entertain a motion. Please do.
If I wanted to make an amendment to the amount, is that before or after?
Let's take the motion first, then you can make an amendment.
All right, so I move to approve a business retention and attraction assistance grant to Photom in the amount of $100,000 for restaurant relocation and equipment expenditures.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Riggs, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell. Further comment, Mr. Riggs?
Yeah, so this council, as long as I've sat on this council, has said a couple of things. And one of the things that we've circled back to a lot is the need to retain businesses, especially small minority-owned businesses, and especially small minority-owned businesses when they're displaced by development that otherwise benefits the city. This is, and I would actually add Reggie's Colombian and Northwest Chinese too, fit all of those criteria really clearly. I'm pretty confident in having heard from Mr. Williams that we have an amount that is right, that fits for the type of retail fit out that's going to be needed over at Union on Knox. And it's extremely meaningful that both the tenant themselves is signing a 20-year lease and is also committing $500,000 of their own personal financing to this. It's not like the city's, doing all of it. This is one of the three biggies in that strip, all of whom are being, all the businesses in that strip are being displaced. But this is one of the big three. It's been written up by the Washington Post and is really beloved in the community. So I think it's a reasonable amount. I can appreciate that there's a broader discussion and embrace a broader discussion about putting even more structure around this, but we also we also can't lose businesses like this, and I think this is an opportunity to provide some needed support. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's go to the audience, then I'll come back, then I'll take your amendment. Let's do that. Is there anyone to speak on this? Please come forward. Please come forward to the podium. Yes.
Get out of the way.
Welcome. Please state your name and if you're a resident of College Park.
Good evening. My name is Edwina Rennes. My husband and I, we own Capital Kettle Corn in the Hollywood Center. And it was brought to our attention, the grant was brought to our attention recently. Had no knowledge of it. But I've learned recently to go online and every month at least to check to see what's available. What concerns me about it, first of all, our company is not known, neither are we celebrated. We've been trying to get our business establishment open for the last 2 years. The Prince George's County permitting it's been a nightmare for us. We're very close to getting there. However, what concerns me is when it comes down to this particular grant, I just feel as though, like I said, we shouldn't have to be celebrated or known. But the amounts, the funds there, I believe it's about $325,000 total. $325,000.
Most likely. Yeah.
I just feel, and I don't speak for just myself, I speak for my neighbors as well. Those of us who are trying to it took us taking us 2 years, and we're talking about, as far as I'm concerned, it's rents that we've had to pay. We've lost out, build out. So that took away from our build outs. And I just feel as though, like I say, speaking for myself and for my neighbors, even the fund there should be a cap so that everyone could take advantage of it. Not just one company or one company that is known or celebrated. I just don't see that that's a fair situation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for choosing College Park. And I know how much the community loves you, Kettle Corn, right? People love you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on this? Please come forward.
Yeah, not in the way to do it, but yeah, come on.
Yeah, this is the audience time. Welcome. Please state your name and if you're a resident.
Hi, I'm Alexa Bailey. I've been a resident of College Park for about 21 years or so. We moved here from Berkeley, California, and that is just a fantastic place to enjoy all sorts of wonderful food and lots of local independent businesses. And the first couple of years we were here, we certainly enjoyed our time, but it was not until FOTOM came here that we found a place that we could go as a family, come with my parents, come with my lab. It became like a really central location for us. So, as I said, we've had, birthday party celebrations, lab celebrations. As someone who works on campus, it's one of the very few places where I can take an invited speaker because it's actually a sit-down place that has a really nice menu. So I have met colleagues there, and we're in a place that obviously, understandably, caters a lot towards the student population. But as someone who both lives locally but also works here at UMD, Photom is just a really special place that is kind of appreciated from both those perspectives. Just want to reiterate, we certainly have come to absolutely adore Hatran, the owner, and you will be hard pressed to find someone who works harder in a business. So she's incredibly dedicated. That 20-year commitment to this place, I mean, we celebrate that, but we know that is just a huge amount of effort on her part. So just want to end by saying that Photom is a total gem. It's locally owned, small business, woman-owned, minority-owned, beloved by students. I mean, I hear all the time from students that I work with, and I see them there regularly. So it's very appreciated by the student population, very beloved by local residents, and they've been here for 13 years, so they have an amazing track record. So I'm really pleased that you're considering this support for them, and would just love to see them here for another 20 years.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wants to speak? Thank you. Thanks for coming. State your name for a resident.
Leo Shapiro, 6907 Rhode Island Avenue. Basically, I think Mr. Williams and Alexa Bailey have said most of what I want to say. Most of the people in the room here know that Photom and the other restaurants in that strip have really become bedrock institutions in this community. And they are exactly the kinds of restaurants that we talk about wanting to support. I know I won't mention the Grill Marks fiasco. I just mentioned it. But, where several $100,000 was given to a large national chain, this is the opportunity. This is the direction where we want to go. And I appreciate Mr. Hernandez's concerns. We don't want to be short-sighted and run out of money. But I think Mr. Williams is operating in a very real-world situation where, every business is in a unique situation. There's a lot of moving parts, which can be, obviously, that doesn't mean we don't want to have clear policies, but I think even setting a clear limit, well, maybe you have to have some limit, but you do have to kind of be able to be flexible and move quickly. I think about the fact, I know there's been discussion of the annual parade where this body has spent $30-something thousand every year for a one-day event that not that many people are involved with. Here we're talking about a few times that to basically make it possible for this institution to stay in this community that is so important to us. So I think one of the takeaways that I would say is we should probably be trying to, and I know you guys work really hard on the budgeting, but trying to fund this program with even more money, as well as make clear policies to alleviate some of these concerns about not running out of money. I think that's probably really all I want to say, but I think that we just need to support this request, and cutting this amount, $100,000, was not something that someone grabbed out of the air. Cutting that amount, I think there's a serious risk that could jeopardize this whole project to keep Photom in our community. And it's one last thing. I can't believe my time hasn't run out on me, but one thing that's unusual about Photom, yes, I recall walking into that place and thinking, am I in College Park? This looks very different from walking into Noodles or Chipotle. Not that I have anything against those institutions. It's very high quality, fast casual food. But the other thing is that it appeals to such a broad audience. It is a core restaurant for students, faculty, staff on campus, local residents. We don't have a lot of places like that. And I think this is exactly who we need to be supporting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. We have, please come forward, Mr. French. State your name if you're a resident.
I'm Jim French, and these comments are just off the cuff from listening to what's gone on tonight. My background is in, accounting and business, and I'm just curious why the city is giving grants to these businesses, especially one that has a growth like we heard. This place is up to $1.5 million a year now in business. Why not offer them discounted loans? Or like Mr. Hernandez said, something where there's responsibility to pay back to the city. I think that's about all I had to say.
Thank you. We have been discussing it actually. Thank you. If Mr. Dorsch, please come forward. State your name if you're a resident.
Yeah, I'm that Mr. Dorsch, College Park resident for about 40, 50 years, something like that. Anyway, I was just thinking here, we're talking about restaurants. Remember Play-Dohs? Anybody here remember Play-Dohs? Okay, that's the kind of restaurant we need in the city here. That was a great restaurant. Good service, reasonable prices, and a very nice place there. It's, for those that don't remember, it's where Trader Joe's is sitting right now. So anything the city could do, you know, to get Tony to come back into the restaurant business or whatever and get a Play-Dohs type restaurant back in here would be fantastic. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you. I do not see anyone in the room. Let's go online. There are two residents waiting patiently. I think Mr. Chad Hora, I think you're the one. I cannot. Mr. Gardiner, can you bring Mr. Hora inside to speak? Allow him to speak.
Hello, this is Chad.
Please state your name and, sorry, you already stated your name, and if you're a resident.
Hi, this is Chad. Yeah, I'm a resident, and I did own a business actually in College Park for quite a few years. And we recently, well, within a few years ago, we moved. So my concerns about this entire thing, and I provided feedback via email, but so my first question was, why isn't the county taking care of this? The county approved the development. The county probably should have tried to leverage the developer into providing relocation assistance to the current tenants. And now tonight, I'm just finding out all of this information like today, this morning, tonight. So I'm learning that the county, or the developer, did actually provide relocation assistance to the tune of what, $300,000. And then the business owners apparently operate a very profitable business and have $500,000 in savings that they're, so that's just a lot of money. So now we're at $800,000 to relocate. And we need to somehow, for some reason, the city needs to right this wrong that happened and provide an extra $100,000 to a business that really just doesn't sound like it really needs it. Like, I can't imagine a relocation expense that's, we can do it for $800,000. We can do it for $900,000. We can't do it for $800,000. It just seems like we're paying for something that doesn't need to be paid for. So I echo Mr. French's sentiments that the math doesn't add up. I think that the money could be better spent elsewhere, and that's all.
Thank you. We also have Mark LL. Please state your name and if you're a resident, unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Tali. I was here earlier for the Lata Hot Pot BRX license, liquor license.
We'll be going back to your item after this. Can you please wait?
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, is there anyone else who wants to speak online? And last chance in the room? Seeing none, let's come back to council. I see Mr. Adams. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, thank you, and thank you everyone who testified and all the great work by our Economic Development Director, Mr. Williams. I think Councilmember Hernandez made up some great points, and I think this body should definitely look into discussions on setting, some additional guardrails and some additional expectations, but also, recognize that every situation is unique, and we do need to have opportunities to really meet our business owners how they need to be met. And sometimes it's relocation from an upcoming displacement like we're looking at for Photon, but sometimes it's attraction like Capital Kettle Corn that's looking to locate in College Park, or it can even just be retention where the business climate has changed and we need to help businesses that are wanting to continue to thrive in College Park. But I want to bring us back to about 450 days ago. And that's when the 3-cent commercial tax increase was proposed in the FY24 budget. So this funding that is currently in our budget and being discussed today is actually based upon an amendment to our budget that was put forward 450 days ago. And that was when we knew that the location that Photom, Richie's Colombian, and Northwest Chinese had already had numerous community meetings and was moving forward with redevelopment. We had only heard maybe 30 days, 60 days prior that Campus Village was being purchased, but we had no indication at that time, at least my understanding was, that there would be displacement there so quickly. But it was this body that took action in the adoption of the FY24 budget to make business retention, especially for businesses that are being displaced, a top priority. And we've done that. And there's only about 20 days left in FY24, and there is sufficient funding to make this intentional investment in Photom to relocate and continue to thrive in College Park. And again, as I said before, I do agree that we can add additional tools such as low interest loans. If folks look at our agenda, at the end of the agenda, you'll see on a master list, and you'll see that on October of 2023, we requested a future agenda discussion about low interest loans for businesses, though it has notable complexity with that. But I think we definitely need to have that discussion. But the other thing I wanted to share is that I think it was about 3 months ago, the mayor and I were able to meet with the owner of Photom and our business director, and our city manager was there as well. And when I entered that meeting, I think it was about 3 months ago, and I'm in District 3 and Photom is in District 3, the discussion point was a request of $300,000. And that's what at the time we thought was needed to keep this outstanding business in College Park. $100,000 is actually kind of a more of a balance to recognize that we know that there's other businesses that could need the funding, but I don't want to discount the fact that the original ask was likely closer to $300,000, and this is a notable investment by the owners of Photom to continue to be in College Park, and I highly encourage us to recognize that, yes, we can set some additional guardrails, but there's 20 days left in FY24. This budget is there. It was placed in our budget intentionally for this specific purpose, and today we can act upon it. And I encourage us to maintain it at 100,000, knowing that that's already been kind of moved to a balance of what kind of bridges the investment from the future development that's helping with tenant fit out. It's notable investment from the owners putting their own money up, as well as committing to 10 to 20 years of additional lease time. And so I think this is what we set to do when we establish our FY24 budget, and today we can act upon it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Hernandez.
Hey, just want to set the record again. Just that the increase in the 3 cents was to generate revenue for the entire city. It was never earmarked for these particular programs. I want to make an amendment. Is now the right time to do that?
Please go ahead.
So I comment first or comment? This is a parliamentary question because I'm confused a little bit.
You can make an amendment first.
Amendment, then comment,
Then
right?
comment, yeah.
Okay. I move to amend. I move to amend from 100,000 to 75,000 the approval of the business grant for Photom. I'm sure there's the right language here. I can look for it.
Sure.
But
Hold on. Let's get a second. Then you have a comment, if there isn't a second. Is there any second for that amendment? I do not see any second, so it fails. Unfortunately. Sorry.
Can I still make a comment, though?
You can continue
Finish.
making comment on the original motion.
Yeah, on the original motion. So the reason I made I chose 25,000 to be pushed to, to be pulled off the original motion was because I believe that we could roll that over to the next FY, including the 15,000, should there not be another applicant in the remainder of the FY. I anticipate Richie's Colombian and Northwest Chinese will probably ask somewhere near the same amount. And right now, that, as you stated, Mr. Williams, it was basically 200,000 that we have to work with for the next FY. I'm concerned, right? And I think a lot of my colleagues share that concern. So for that particular reason, I feel like approving it today without having the full discussion that everyone seems to agree that we should have doesn't allow for the due diligence and discussion that's necessary that we owe it to the other businesses across the city. So I know where I can sense where the body's going, but yeah,
That's okay.
Oh, no, okay.
If it is not very urgent, we have a long night. Is there any further comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Question for clarity. So we have approximately, 3.5 weeks before we go into July 1st budget,
FY25.
FY25. Any money that's not spent in this budget will not roll over to the next budget.
Mr. Young?
For the most part, that's correct. There are a few items of which the council may choose to accrue and roll over, but most of those are not general operating dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment before I take the vote?
no, I'll explain my vote.
All right, so before, most likely I won't be able to vote, but I do agree with some of the comments and do agree on 2 points that we need to spend more time in the future to structure this program in a better way. I know there is a work session coming up in October, Mr. Adams mentioned. That's one thing, but also we should be finding other ways to support our businesses, things like loan program. The county actually has a loan program, I think. I don't know how many businesses actually know that. Mr. Young?
I just want to make a correction. You're actually scheduled to hear that at your next meeting on July 9th.
Oh, really? That's even better. Thank you. With that, let's take the vote. Do you need to take a roll call? Maybe Mr. Hernandez?
That's fine. I'm gonna vote no, and just to explain my vote, this is so hard, because I support the whole idea of the business retention and attraction grants, I really do, but we're voting for something that we, I mean, just from the comments I've heard tonight, all agree still needs a little bit more time, thought, and discussion, and to vote right now, I believe is just premature, especially if the meeting is next week. But learning how to disagree better here, so. But no is my vote.
Thank you. And Dr. Esters, we are taking the vote.
Yes.
Ms. Whitney?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
In explaining my vote, I first want to say that I appreciate the comments from all the residents. Number two, I appreciate the comments from my colleagues in regards to having a way to kind of define the process. It is a process, and it's a process that is indicative of each entity who comes before us. But I also want to make sure we clearly understand that there are other programs for businesses in our cities that we use for new business. We have the Business Facade Grant Program. We have other programs that we do use for businesses who are here or who want to come here. And I think that needs to be clarified, because some people, I think that the business of retention is also in addition to the business facade, is separate entities. I am going to vote yes in support of this tonight, and I do hope that we do have a fruitful discussion, honest, fruitful discussion moving forward in regards to this program next year.
Thank you. Ms. Mackey?
Yes.
Mr. Adam?
Yes.
And Mr. Rigg?
Yes.
Mr. Hugh probably has left. He had to, okay, he's attending NLC. So with a vote of 6-1, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you for your work. Do you want to have a final comment?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I want to just say a very big thank you to Ms. Ha Tran. One of the things that came about in Campus Village was seeing how broken some of the owners were and how much risk they took financial risk. And it was very apparent at the end how damaging that is.
It is.
And so I say to Ms. Tran, I really look forward to working with you. I want to say just a couple clarifying points, that the funding for FOTOM is issued or helped out by the new ownership, and that's TDC and H&R Retail. And so the new landlord will contribute the $317,000 for build out. And again, just going back to Ms. Tran's ability, someone said about, well, she has $500,000. She's paying payroll. She's running a business, and there is going to be a gap between closure and opening. And so all that risk is hers. And so let's recognize that. I'm elated, and I want to say to Mr. Hernandez, I hear you loud and clear. One of the fun parts about my job is when some people complain that perhaps that my office isn't recognizing what's going on in other areas of the city. And I get to come back and tell you exactly what my answers are to that. And I look forward to talking a little bit more about the popcorn factory and the kettle corn.
Capital Kettle Corn.
Capital Kettle Corn.
Mr. Williams,
the
thank you
city
so
has
much.
been a very big supporter of Capital Kettle Corn.
Absolutely. I was
Thank
going
you.
to actually ask you how much you're
We hit
connected with them.
$40,000.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your hard work. Keep up the good work. Let's go to our usual order, which is 24G92. Who's going to take it up? Mr. Young?
I am.
Okay. Our city attorney,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have before you tonight is the approval of a property use agreement in support of an application for a new Class B BLX beer, wine, and liquor license for the use of Everland Inc., trading as Lateo Hot Pot College Park, located at 8700 Baltimore Avenue, Suites A and B, College Park. Although this is a new application, the restaurant has been in operation, and in fact, I guess in April of 2019, a property use agreement was approved by the city. However, there was a lapse in the renewal, and under the property use agreement, if there's a lapse of the license, the agreement also ends. So because they are submitting a new application for hearing on June 25th before the Board of License Commissioners, we also want to enter into a new agreement with the applicant. I have worked with their counsel, Mr. Robert Kim, and we have agreed to all terms and conditions of the property use agreement. The applicant is also here if there's any questions by the council.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Is there any question? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Is there a question?
I wanted to make the motion.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I move to approve a recommendation to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners of Prince George's County, the board, for issuance of a Class B BLX beer, wine, and liquor license to Everland Inc., TA Latau Hot Pot College Park, Tao Lee, President Licensee, at the property located at 8700 Baltimore Avenue, Suites A and B, College Park, Maryland 20740, subject to licensee agreement to a property use agreement with the city PUA and substantially the form attached, authorizing the city manager to sign the PUA and send letter to the board indicating the city's support.
Second.
Thank you so much. Any further comment, Ms. Whitney?
I'm glad to have this in my neighborhood. I'm glad to have this in my district. And, you know, I've heard many people enjoying the karaoke rooms there, and I've enjoyed the, Councilmember Rigg is apparently going to invite us to a karaoke night for council.
Council Okie.
Council Okie.
I like that.
I love this idea.
With hopefully alcohol.
Let's
And I
do-
believe Councilmember Esters made the same
Welcome.
suggestion. So, yes, I am enthusiastically in support.
Thank you. Let's go to the audience if anyone wants to speak on this item, including if you're online, if you want to speak on this is the time. Please raise your virtual hand. Seeing none, let's come back to the council. Any further comment before we take the vote? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstention? The motion passes. Thank you. All right, let's go to now LB Collective item, which is 24G95. Who is going to take it up? Mr. Eric.
Looks like it's one-year plan.
It's 24G95, approval of recommendations of the detailed site plan. App-
24G99.
24G99.
Restorative justice is next.
I'm looking at the.
Remember, we have like two,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah,
like
that's,
two.
I'm looking at the list over there.
I don't know
Restorative
what-
justice is next in the online
in the
agenda,
packet.
the online agenda.
Okay, I'll follow the packet.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's confusing. Agreed.
Okay, 24G99, which is the award of contract RFP CP 2405.
Next.
RFP for the research consultant for the Restorative Justice Commission. Who's going to take it? Mr. Young, you're going to take it up? Or Ms. Gross? Ms. Gross, welcome. Please come forward. Actually, I see Mr. Young's name.
I know, right?
Thank you for your patience.
Okay, y'all have to do better, because I'm old. I can't stay up like this anymore.
We have a very
Been there,
engaging
done
community.
that. I've got the hat and a T-shirt. They've worn out and probably dry rotted in that length of time, but it's another other. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure, as always, to come before you this evening. I am here to ask for your support for the acceptance of the request for proposal for the researchers to carry out work for the Restorative Justice Commission. Just to review slightly the material that they will be working on. They'll be researching the impact and actions of the city and other parties, including of things like urban renewal and displacement on the Lakeland community and its diaspora, researching the economic impact of the disbursement on generational wealth, provide recommendations for areas of research, archiving, and public dissemination efforts. They will also make recommendations to the Restorative Justice Commission as to ways to bring about restorative justice for the Lakeland community, to include looking at areas including transportation, education, public safety, sustainability, and revitalization. And finally, they will produce a document memorializing their research findings. I am thrilled to say that the group that presented the proposal is coming out of Columbia University. And two of the primaries on the project are individuals I have the great pleasure of meeting during my time in Evanston back at the end of last year. The group is not only associated with Columbia University, but they have partnership with Howard University's law school. And so those two elements together will be fantastic in carrying out this work. I am happy to answer any questions that I can, and I'm looking forward to you accepting the proposal.
Thank you. Is there any question for Ms. Gross?
Sure.
Dr. Esther?
Well, hold on. Ms. Gross, do you have the
video now.
the video?
Oh, thrilled.
Here you go.
Let's see. We have a video.
Driving along US 1, you see new high-rise developments along strip shopping centers and fast food shops. Take a turn onto Lakeland Road near the University of Maryland's North Gate, and you will find Lakeland. Maybe it would be truer to say the remains of Lakeland, the historic African-American community of College Park. Lakeland was a vibrant place with boundaries that reached from just behind the east side of US 1, across the B&O Railroad tracks to include what is now Lake Artemisia Natural Area.
Lakeland was the ideal community. It was pretty much self-contained. There was very little you had to leave Lakeland for in those days.
It was Mr. Black's store where we could dance, eat a hamburger or a hot dog or soda and just socialize.
In the neighborhood, there were at least 30 of us. We could get a football game together. We could get a baseball game together.
Lakeland grew as a community during the time of segregation, 1865 to about 1970. Schools and houses were not desegregated in Prince George's County until very late.
There was definitely the colored schools and white schools. The teachers would comment on how they wanted better books, and we could clearly see that the books were secondhand. To me, that's where the excellence of the teachers came in, because they went beyond to expose us to as much as they could.
The community took care of itself, you know what I mean? Everybody knew who belonged to everybody. They knew whose child you were, and if you were doing anything that was not considered to be appropriate behavior, you answered to the community.
I've been blessed to grow up in a neighborhood where everybody knows what you're up to without a cell phone.
We had two stores, Mr. Black and Mr. Max stores. They were right across from each other. And we have two churches that still exist, the Baptist Church and the Methodist Church. So we walked to school, we walked to churches. We had two baseball diamonds. We had the town hall.
Lakeland was a place where people lived, loved, and celebrated. So, what happened? Urban renewal happened. In the 1960s, Lakelanders, like many other Black residents across the nation, worked to exercise community control over their neighborhoods and resistance to housing discrimination. Following the passage of federal legislation with the promise of addressing housing inequalities, residents petitioned the city of College Park for help.
When I first moved out here, they were talking about this urban renewal. I was telling them then, don't let them come into the community because they don't do nothing but tear it up.
The community organized in hopes of protecting some of their homes from frequent flooding, alleviating the impacts of flooding in the area, and helping some improve their homes. In 1969, residents, city and county officials, and stakeholders compromised on a redevelopment plan and officially made Lakeland a designated site for urban renewal.
Urban renewal came along with flood control. The flood control was a great benefit to the community. But somehow, the urban renewal project didn't work out as well.
Although the federal policies were intended to improve lives of disenfranchised residents, the stories of Lakelanders who lived through this period reflect the destruction and transformation of Lakeland's landscape and community. Many family homes had been built in what government experts said were flood-prone areas. Many others were judged to be blight.
Urban renewal, when those things came about, hey, we're going to come in, we're going to fix some stuff, we're going to rebuild, and then all those people who live there, you have the first opportunity to move back in. So my grandparents on both sides sold their homes and moved out.
In the end, 104 of Lakeland's 150 households were marked for demolition. By the end of the 1970s, most of Lakeland's residents were forced to leave, and 2/3 of the land was cleared.
That part of Lakeland was never the same again, and it was never put back in place for those folks who sold their homes to come back.
Gone is the western part of Lakeland, with its homes, the American Legion Post Social Hall, and stores. After standing vacant for years, it was all replaced. Gone is the eastern part of Lakeland, its historic Rosenwald School building and homes with their gardens.
But I know a lot of families were very upset that they were being displaced and had to move, and then the feeling of, the neighborhoods is breaking up kind of thing, because people went to various other towns that were close enough, but not the same close-knitness that Lakeland offered.
Although a great deal has been lost, Lakeland's story reflects the larger story of the African American experience in Prince George's County, as well as the larger struggles for racial equality in our nation. Lakeland's resilience is inspirational, but the neighborhood's history begs the question: which stories are truly valued and why? Now that you've heard Lakeland's story, we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Very well done video. Is there any question for Ms. Gross?
Or whenever, if you want me to go first, huh? Oh, can I'd like to make a comment. I mean, this is a very powerful video. I think what was striking more than anything, and I've shared this with other council members, is the map. Because you can walk through Lakeland right now and hear or see, you know, some of the stories or pictures, but when you start talking to some of the residents and they're telling you about the woman who lived on Cincinnati Road, and I said, there is no Cincinnati Road. That's because it's in the lake. That right there to me was striking enough. And to see it right there on the map and how it's now in the lake, that to me just, it's a message that needs to be told. So just because it's getting late, move to the motion. But like, thank you for that. And I did just have one question, I'm sorry. With it coming in, with the RFP coming just slightly above budget, do you think it's going to impact your next year's budget? Are you going to be okay? Because I know that the 148 is still a little bit higher. It came in a little higher than what was expected.
Well, I think staff can probably tell you about the budgeting issues more appropriately than I can.
If that's not an issue, even though I just wanted to ask, because I know that we had approved 191, and I thought that I had seen it in the itemized somewhere at 130, and I may be wrong. It's late for me.
I don't have their budget right in front of me, but I don't believe it's going to be an issue for us moving forward. There may be some things that we might, this is one of the areas we might have to accrue some funds over or find some additional funding in next year's budget for. We did, and I don't know if this was in the staff report, but this was the second time we actually went out for an RFP. So
Yes, I saw that.
This is the first, so we were able to tighten up the scope and get a better bid out of here. And so I think this is really the best we can really ask for at this point.
I'm asking more from a perspective of are we at risk of not doing some of the projects that we wanted to do next year for you?
Well, it is my hope that this can be completed in time for this year's budget. And most of the funds are still available in the budget that exists.
I see. Okay.
So between that and what is in next year's budget is more than sufficient.
Checks out.
In
Thank you.
fact, there should be some funding available to make some of the recommendations become reality.
And I'll defer
Once
to my
they're
district
set.
councilman.
Thank you. Mr. Adams, is there a question or a comment?
Yeah, it was on the same line here. Just in the packet, it says, it outlines the current fiscal year FY24, and then it says upcoming fiscal year FY25. If we are unable to pull from the remainder of the current budget, can city staff just explain, what the expectation is? We're here today on June 11th in FY24. So my understanding is we prove it today, and it comes under contract in a timely manner. This would be fully under FY24. Is that a fair assumption?
That's correct. It would be all come out of FY24.
Great.
So it's in the overall scheme of the budget, we're fine. So.
Okay, good news.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
If I could continue on there. So, and then in the FY25 budget, there is a $100,000 line item for historical record development. And is that what, Ms. Gross, you were kind of speaking to, maybe repurposing that for actually some implementation of recommendations? Is that a fair assumption?
Yes, it is. And of course, we would be, adhering to the city's ordinary rules about reprogramming funds.
Okay, thank you for the clarifications.
Thank you. I see, Ms. Carter, do you want to speak on this item?
Hi, yes, I just wanted to say that we actually redid the budget tonight in our meeting earlier this evening and looked at all of the numbers, and so there is money in the budget. If this were to get approved tonight, we could move forward tomorrow with the contract, and Todd is aware that we would be looking to move forward tomorrow if this is approved. And so according to the estimations that I did tonight, based on our current budget and what is to be paid out, we are in good standing.
Thank you. All right, let's take the motion.
Thank you.
Dr. Esters.
Thank you, Ms.
You have a question?
Sorry, very briefly. Is there any explanation of why we only wound up with like one bid and it was from the same bidder both times? Is there really only one institution in the country that can do this work, or?
I can try to tell you.
Sure,
Try
it
to
was just
answer that
surprising
for
to me.
you. It is a very vast scope of work. You're asking for someone to do historical research, you're asking for folks to do economic research, legal research, and there really aren't many, there is no ordinary group that can do that. It may be possible for folks to put together a group of folks to do it, that type of a specialized project, but it would be very difficult to do that for a single project. So the group that has come forward has done work similar to this for other municipalities like Evanston. They've done some work in Africatown, and many of them have been involved with work through the United Nations and other types of similar projects. So that's the answer to the question. It's a very specialized project. And in the scheme of things, this project is, I know it's a lot of money, and for us it's large, but in the scheme of things, it's relatively small. So they would be really inventing an organization to do what is really considered to be a small job.
That's helpful, thank you.
Thank you. Now let's take the motion. Dr. Esters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to award contract number CP 2405 in the amount of $148,260 to Columbia University for research consultant services for the Restorative Justice Commission, and authorize the city attorney and city manager to execute the contract in substantially the form attached.
Second.
Any further comment, Dr. Esters?
Yes, I'd like to say that this is an important step in the work and effort regarding restorative justice and the commitment that the city made to continue this work, namely working to identify the harms of urban renewal and working to memorialize the history of this community to help move our steps forward. I also want to acknowledge Ms. Gross for the conference session that she held during ITGA. It was about the Lakeland community, and it was well received by a number of people who attended, including those from Evanston, Illinois. And they spoke specifically to the work that had been done here, where they had been used as an example. They were looking at Lakeland as an example. So thank you.
Thank you. Good points. Let's go to the audience. Anyone wants to speak? The great audience in the room. Let's see online. Don't see any virtual hands. Seeing none, let's come back to the council. Anyone wants to speak on this item before we take the vote? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to ask a question of Ms. Gross, but I do want to relay a sincere thank you from another member who attended the ITGA conference, but wears a different hat with the National League of Cities. They were very, very impressed with what you did during the conference, and from what I've heard, it's been taken back to them, NLC, and hopefully you may be getting a phone call. So just want to say kudos to you very, very much, and thank you for everything.
Thank you. Any further comments before we take the vote? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Gross. Thank you. Keep up the good work. All right, now let's go to the next item, and I'm going to follow our packet agenda, and don't want to follow the one. That would be 24G96, right? This plan, right, exactly. Discuss and approve the FY24 strategic plan, one-year objectives. Mr. Gardiner, let's take it away.
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you and okay with the applicants for the other item. would you
Okay,
like to
I
go first?
definitely could do it, makes sense, but I need an amendment.
Sure. Move to suspend the rules to reconfigure the agenda and move item 24G-95, approval of recommendation on the detailed site plan for LV Collective as the next item, followed by the discussion of strategic plan goals.
Second.
Oh, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? So we'll be going to discuss 24G95. Eric Valentine. Mr. Valentine will be taking away detailed site plan DSP application for LV Collective. Mr. Tardo, thank you, welcome.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Gardner. While the presentation is loading, I'll just say, let's take a moment to think about how all-encompassing local government is tonight. We've talked about speed bumps, men going to the dentist, restorative justice, and business retention. So, what a wonderful, a range of things, and we're all here to do, the same thing. So I will be very brief. Good evening, Mayor and Council. At last week's meeting, city staff and the applicant, LV Collective, were here to present and discuss DSP 23009 for Project Turtle, a proposed 6 to 7 mixed-use development on the east side of Baltimore Avenue, located between Melbourne Place and Navajo Street. Just quickly to recap, the proposed building will contain over 1,000 beds across 299 units, marketed towards student housing. The proposal includes over 1,300 square feet of retail space and a proffered 2,219 square foot community space that will be used by the Lakeland community. This will include 286 parking spaces provided in a structured parking garage occupying the first 2 levels of the building behind the front facade. So just to jump right into it, city staff recommends supporting DSP 23009, subject to the following. One is to support the requested departures that include the parking space dimension requirement and the reduction of loading spaces from 3 to 2. We also support the alternative development district standards that are detailed in the staff report, but briefly those include building height, setbacks, number of parking spaces, loading and service areas, architectural elements and siting, water efficiency and recharge, and streetscaping requirements. Our other condition is that prior to DSP approval by the planning board, we will execute a declaration of covenants in agreement with the city that includes, at a minimum, the provisions on the screen, which were all discussed last week. But most importantly, just to be clear, I will call out the ones that were not carried over to this week that will not be included in the final DSP. And those are just 3. The first one is provision of a mid-block crosswalk along Navajo Street, which was determined to be infeasible. The second is consideration to set aside a percentage of rooms as affordable for students with demonstrated need. And finally, to amend the BPIS statement to add lighting along the trolley trail on the east side of Lakeland Park. But that's all I have. I can go into more detail if necessary, but Mr. Haller and the applicant are also here to answer questions.
Thank you. Is there any question for our staff, Mr. Valentine, first, before we bring the applicant? Looks like we talked a lot last week. Thank you. Applicant, do you have a statement?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council. Thomas Haller on behalf of the applicant. Andres Sahakian is here as well. Can answer any questions. We don't need to add any more to what we discussed last week. I am proud to be here. It's interesting that this is on the same agenda as the funding for the Lakeland Community Heritage Project, because I hope that this is, and I know LV Collective is just ecstatic about being a small part of helping them to continue to tell their story. And so we're excited about the opportunity to do that. I've worked with your city attorney on the Declaration of Covenants. We're in full agreement with the language in the Declaration of Covenants, and we're here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Is there any question for Mr. Haller? Probably not. You already know everything. Ms. Whitney.
I do have one question. At the International Town and Gown Association Conference, we did hear, a lot of challenges that the city of College Park faces with affordability and with our student population, et cetera, are shared internationally. And one way that some developments in Ottawa are handling the problem is kind of a hub and spoke approach to creating affordability by creating 15 to 20 kind of beds that share a common area. So it's like private rooms that are smaller that share a common area and I know you have 5-bedroom units, and I know that's the idea of the 5-bedroom units.
Correct.
But I wonder if there's any ability to not damage your profit profile and but make some spaces that are more affordable for students in that way, because that was a pretty unique approach, at least that I hadn't heard. I'm sure you guys, being in the business, have heard of it, but I had not. So
I have heard of it in certain other locations. I don't know if it's possible to do anything on this project.
A 15-bed unit is an interesting kind of approach. I think the student kind of profile may be a little different in Ottawa versus kind of a University of Maryland or really any big American university. I don't know if that would be something that we'd be able to accomplish just physically with how our building is structured, without having kind of a lot of wasted space within units and like interior corridors. I've never actually studied personally a 15-unit bed, and we've never done anything more than like 5 or 6. So I'm not sure if that's really feasible for this project here. But we do offer 5-bedroom units, and we do offer 4x2 units where they share restrooms, and so those are incorporated into the project and incorporated such like in order to have multiple price points for multiple prospective tenants.
one more question. And this was asked, by a member of the community. Is there any way that, I know you can't designate, you're saying financially it's not feasible to designate a percentage of units as affordable. Might it be possible to designate like one of the townhomes as affordable at a certain percentage of market?
That may, I think operationally that may be difficult to incorporate into the project. Simply one unit, so I'm not sure we'd be able to do that either.
Okay.
That's right, no.
Yeah, I guess that's a no. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? If not, I'm gonna take the vote. Hopefully I don't need to take a roll call. All in favor, say aye.
I just had one more question, I'm so
Oh, you have-
sorry.
okay, please go ahead.
How many 5-bedroom units are there? What?
No, she asked.
Oh, you have a question too. Okay.
I would need to pull up that information. I can do that here in a second for you.
Okay, thanks.
In the meantime, Dr. Estes, do you have? I don't have. Oh, okay, that's good. I was a little confused.
Mr. Mayor, should we perhaps consider a recess or?
I was thinking,
or
no, I think,
tabling?
I think applicant found the
Almost
answer.
there. I'm in folder. I'm sorry about that.
I probably should have presented that question ahead of time. My apologies.
It's okay.
I apologize. I need just a couple minutes here.
All right. Is this something applicant can get back to us later, Ms. Whitney?
Is this,
Is it something your vote will depend on? Or rather wait?
If he comes back and he says two.
It's not.
It's not too. It's,
If not, we can take a recess then.
I mean,
No,
can I have a question, Councilman Whitney? This is not gonna change your
there are
vote?
39 5-bedroom units.
There you go.
I would like to make the motion.
The motion is, okay, the motion is not there. Okay, I thought the motion is there. Nobody made the motion, right? Okay, please go ahead.
I move to support approval of detailed site plan 23009, Project Turtle by LV Collective, with a declaration of covenants and agreement regarding land use in substantially the form attached, and subject to the approval of the city attorney.
Second.
Any further comment, Ms. Whitney?
I'm glad to hear how many 5-bedroom units there are. That does give me some comfort. And I am very excited about the coming Lakeland Legacy Center, and I appreciate the way that you've worked with the community to really ascertain what they want out of that space and to make it work for them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the audience. Anyone has to speak on this item in the room? Virtually, I don't see anyone. Let's come back to the council. Let's take the vote. I hope it will be unanimous. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The DSP is approved. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now let's go to the last item, which is the strategic plan, right? Yeah. That's the only item left.
Not quite. I hate to break it to you.
I mean, the action item.
Last action item, right. Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a follow-up to the discussion we had in May, and it is asking your review and approval of the FY25 annual goals for the strategic plan. These are broad goals. Many of them are sort of cross-departmental. And upon the approval of the goals by the mayor and council, departments will then craft their goals throughout the fiscal year to implement the goals that you've approved. The draft goals that are in the packet, they generally follow some of the priorities in funding and projects and policies that you've outlined in the FY25 budget. And be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any question for staff? Ms. Whitney?
Thank you. As far as the OKR number 3, preserve our and enrich our environment and natural beauty to attract people and sustain our city's future, the proposed FY25 annual objective specifically mentions the new community garden in North College Park and new community center in College Park Woods, and continuing to expand the food scrap collections and improve our tree canopy. I definitely agree with all of those objectives. I wonder if we could also include finalizing plans for Roanoke Place Pocket Park and determining how the community wishes to use the Pierce Avenue open space in Lakeland as goals for the next year.
Staff can do that?
Yes, we can.
And I can email you that language if that's better. Sorry, I didn't do that ahead of time.
That's
All right.
fine.
Further any comments?
No, I think
Good.
I'm
Sure and
happy
safe.
with,
Ms. Mackey?
yeah.
Wait, I had a question.
You have a comment?
Yeah.
Please.
Can you explain, Bill, what you mean, or Mr. Gardner, sorry, about evaluating the city's programs that support education opportunities? Like, what does it mean by evaluate? Does that mean like expanding, or?
Well, we've, and Ms. Barber is here, could probably discuss it in more detail if you need. But we've added a lot of capacity in the area of education support. And we've done a number of programs, such as the grant programs over the last at least 10 years, probably more like 15 or so. This past year, we put in place an online tutoring program. We also hired a part-time position to work specifically on education support. And I think for the upcoming year, I think it will be helpful for staff, helpful for our students to look at what we're doing and to see what's effective, what's not as effective, and what changes we might be able to implement to make them more effective.
Okay.
Does that help? Or?
So like to look through each program, I'm assuming. To look through each of the programs that we have, for, like that are targeting education.
And I think some programs may need, like for example, the online tutoring. It's a fairly new program. We probably haven't done a real evaluation of that program yet. Other programs such as the grant programs have been tweaked over the years. They may not require as much of an analysis to determine what's effective and what's not effective.
I see. Okay. That makes sense. I know that some of it came through ARPA money and funds, so I understand. Is it possible, I know that I had promised you this, but I'm sorry, I was away, some language in some of these OKRs, but in OKR 2, it says celebrate our history and diversity to highlight our unique character and build on the strengths of our community. College Park is expanding, and the diversity in the community is getting more and more diverse. I completely note and respect the unique history, especially for those that live in the Lakeland community. In North College Park specifically, we've seen we have, at least over the number of years, have a very large Muslim population and a large Latino population. I'd like to see the city target to try to bring either more events and recognizing the separation of church and state for the Muslim communities, but anything from South Central Asia or celebrating some of the unique cultural events that are celebrated throughout that may fall outside of the religious challenges or I guess limitations. But also the Latino community that we have in our city spans from a lot of different roots and origins, and I'd like to see us try to target some of that through the events that we have, perhaps with a bilingual strategic communicator position that we currently have coming up. Also, somewhere in, and I don't know which one it would fall into, OKR 3 or OKR, I don't know, I'll defer to you. But at least the completion or start of Duval Field within the next year. It's the largest park that we have as a city, and I'd love to be able to see what we can do to get that up and going in the next year. Please.
That is referenced, but not by name, in OKR 3, in terms of complete projects that enhance open space and recreation facilities. That, without being direct.
I know that we've been working on Duval Field for quite some time, so it would just warm my heart. I've lost some fights today for us to add Duval Field up here in there by name. And then finally, I know that we had discussed a potential study for the possibility or the feasibility of our own police force. I don't know if it needs to get into the nitty-gritty, but I know that OKA4 talks about some of the city codes and permit process that council has discussed. Would certainly like to foot stomp and emphasize our strategic vision for what law enforcement looks like for our city, or at least the feasibility study of it.
So, Mr. Young, do you want to talk about the study, the
There's
solid
a
study?
I think that would be jumping ahead and making assumptions that the study is going to have a certain result. I would be a little hesitant to do that. I would prefer to bring that feasibility study before council to have those discussions before we add language like that into our strategic plan.
Nice.
Completely understand. 2 for 3 is great. Thanks.
That's all. All right, Ms. Mankey.
Would you like me to bring the motion forward now? or is
I
it-
think, yeah, I don't think anyone else wants to volunteer. Yeah, please go ahead. Just
I
wanna give
move to
chance.
approve the FY25 strategic plan annual objectives
As amended.
Second.
As amended.
as amended.
As
Thank you.
amended. All right,
I
good.
second it as amended.
Any further comment, Ms. Mankey?
I think that the staff has worked hard to really move us forward on the strategic plan, and I like what they've put, and I thank my colleagues for also adding to it. So I think that we should move forward. Thank you.
Certainly hard work, Mr. Gardner. Let's go to the audience if wants to speak on this item. We have a great audience. Thank you. I do not see any virtual hands. Let's come back to the council. Any comment before we take the vote? Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, maybe there's a comment, to the city manager. In regards to our strategic plan, is it, actually, it is posted on our website for, residents to view?
It is.
Okay, all right, thank you, that's.
And
what-
it'll be updated once, with our annual objectives as well, once.
Okay,
Mr. Adams,
thank you.
please go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a comment that, if we're gonna select specific projects that we're going to highlight in this, I really like for us to be very coordinated in that. Because when I, look at this strategic objectives, I'm trying to be very general to make sure that we as a city are moving forward with the right approach. And I think there's many projects that we all have in our districts or even outside of our districts that we want to advocate for. And I think we just need to make sure that we're being equitable amongst the spatial diversity of our city, to not just use this as a tool to further emphasize projects that we all know we want. I think we all have many projects, so I do have a little heartburn of really getting very specific into projects here, and I like specifics on this because it really allows you to check the box. But I think we could all get into a little bit of a, hey, what about this project? What about this project if we were all to do that? So I just, want to reflect that I prefer that this approach be a little bit more general than where we went tonight.
So the details are actually in the worksheet that has the checkboxes that he mentioned. So what you're suggesting, instead of going in details on this page, on the high level, we go into the details on that page, right?
I think there were
Further
some
down.
very specific projects that were elevated, and I don't disagree with that. It's just, is this the place to put them? Because I think we all could follow a similar protocol, and I just want to make sure that we're focused on the strategic approach and not just let's complete some projects that we all know we want to get completed. So
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to say, that I feel a little uncomfortable with how specific we got on a couple of handful of projects.
Some of them, like OKR 3 and OKR 5, probably. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I think of a strategic plan, and forgive me, working in a nonprofit, it's broad, it's not well-defined. And Councilmember Adams, thank you for bringing up your comments. We should not be delving into Roanoke Park or something. It should be a statement, but we know personally what we're going to look to further implement within those OKRs moving forward. I think we're not creating a strategic plan when we actually put in the other items on there. And I will say that if that is the motion to move forward.
You can make an amendment.
Well, Mr. Mayor, let me finish this statement first. Then I will determine, listen to the rest of it, but I'm not for this. Thank you.
I'm happy to make an amendment.
Please go ahead.
I'm open to those suggestions, and I can rework the proposed FY '25 annual objective in a way that I think will satisfy all that have spoken on the matter.
Put it.
Okay, I'll make that suggestion at least. That the words would instead say, complete projects that enhance open space and recreation facilities in the city, continue to expand food scrap collections and improve our tree canopy. So we would strike and complete a new community garden in North College Park and new community center in College Park Woods. So we'll strike those specific projects out of the annual objective, and we'll just state that we're working toward open space. Because that was really the tone that made me think I should suggest the other items
right.
that are pending. Absolutely. Complete projects that enhance open space and recreation facilities in the city, continue to expand food scrap collections, and improve our tree canopy.
That's an OKR 3.
OKR 3, yes.
Staff has any comment on that, Mr. Gardner?
Yes, and at the staff level, we also kind of went back and forth on language that may not have been specific enough to let people know kind of the projects that we were thinking about versus labeling those specific projects. So, you know, I don't think the proposed changes that council members offered change the direction of the objective. It makes it more clear to us some of the things that you want to see. But I think those things were kind of embedded, but not explicitly stated in the objectives.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Gardner. In the past, you provided us with the detailed breakdown of all the projects. Not this page, but detail with the check boxes and the options. Will it be possible to provide that list to us? In that way, we know that these projects we are working on.
Sure. So, for example, in the upcoming quarter, altogether we'll probably have 30 to 40 more detailed quarterly objectives, and those objectives will have key results, which again will be even more detailed, that will likely, specifically note projects and programs that would carry out the larger, broader annual objectives.
Okay, so we will be getting in the next quarterly update. Okay, thank you. Mr. Rigg?
Yeah, I was wanting to suggest that I think we might be, a little bit going down a rabbit hole here. I don't think this is necessarily the best, well, it's certainly not the only place and probably not the most appropriate place to assert our individual preferences on projects. If for no other reason than we articulate, those priorities in our budget every year, and with the assistance of city staff, who let us know which projects are ready to go and in what order. So, I'm okay, because this is mostly, it's not symbolic, this is important, but it is kind of symbolic, proceeding with whatever language we're going with, because I think ultimately the status of those projects will be determined by available budget and the project management principles embedded in the sort of how the dependencies shake out. But I just don't know that, it's a good use of our time to sit and kind of hammer through these OKRs and insert sort of special provisions
Certainly.
at the moment, in my opinion.
Thank you. Now, I need to be respectful with my colleagues. Amendment, so you have an amendment. Is there any second for that?
Second.
Withdraw the amendment?
Are we talking about the restatement that removes the specific
yeah.
project so that it's vague, essentially? Yes? Okay. So there was a second to that, yes?
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Esther
All
seconded
right.
that. That was Councilmember Mackey. Thank you, Councilmember.
All right. Any further comment on the amendment?
No, I think
Okay.
I'm fine with where
talked
we've
a lot.
landed.
All right. I just want to follow the procedures. And anyone in the audience wants to speak? Anyone online? I don't see anyone. So let's take the vote on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? So that amendment is approved. Let's vote on the motion, original motion as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? The motion is approved. Thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Mr. Gardiner, for your work.
Can I get a
Motion to extend the meeting, please.
All in
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Meeting is extended. Now we have one last item, which is the work session, Social Sports League. Finally, Ms. Barber, thank you for waiting. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, District 4 opposes to the extension of the meeting.
It's already been approved. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I kind of wish I may have had like a racket or something to kind of get us going for this last item
adult sports,
about to bounce or something. I'm definitely going to be brief and wanting to update the council on this initiative that is actually in fiscal year 24's budget for a social sports program in the city of College Park. We had a survey following our meeting in February, and I think it's clear that there is interest in having a program like this in College Park. There were some clear, there were some winners in terms of the sports that were most preferred in the 150 responses that we received. But if you really look at it, I mean, there's interest in a lot of different sports. So I think that's great. I think it's something that is worth pursuing. What we have found is the how and the who and exactly the best way to do it may take more time in planning than we have before in the next 20 days of fiscal year 24. I have some promising news. You probably saw the social sports Recwell is doing that is available to not just university students. It is starting with volleyball. It was $85. That was a result of giving that to communications for promotion from students that I was working with on what could we do. So I think I heard that there may be a council member who is taking advantage of that social sports opportunity that is being provided to all persons, anybody, whether they're a University of Maryland student, residents certainly or not. Other than that, there is also in the School of Public Health. She was actually on the meeting and had to drop off. Her name is Emma Powell at the University of Maryland. And even more promising, she thinks that by spring of next year, she could have a student-run class where she would have a league that could continually be partner with the city for students for service learning hours to actually run a league in the city, thinking about pickleball, bocce. I know Councilmember Adams actually spoke with this particular person, Emma Powell, in the School of Public Health and connected us, and we've had a couple of in-depth meetings, including looking at syllabi and how that might look. And we have a lot of other moving parts, like events, maybe economic development if businesses would want to do. So really just wanting to hear from the council on this direction, which I would recommend pursuing, which is partnering with one or both, either Recwell on the expansion of their social sports league and how it may benefit residents, as well as the School of Public Health. It's about movement, physical activity, civic engagement that route for our pilot program. So love to hear if council has feedback on
Very
this
exciting.
direction.
Very exciting. Even though it's the last item, I don't think anybody's feeling tired. Mr. Adams, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the great report, and I think, as you mentioned by the survey, there's definitely an interest within the city of College Park and our surrounding area to have social sports. You know, I really am excited that Terrapin Social Sports has kicked off, you know, with the volleyball league. I think it started maybe this week or last week. But I think we do need to recognize, you know, is $85, you know, per participant something that you know, works for the average person within College Park, and is there ways that we can partner with them to possibly bring that down, you know, to something that many folks would feel to be more manageable. And you know, one of the things I just like for us to concentrate in our next steps are definitely, you know, the price points, the parking aspect, and the locations, both on and off campus. I think it's excellent and in our best interest to partner with the University of Maryland Rec-Well and the School of Public Health, because it seems like they have a similar intent and a similar mission of what we're trying to do, and that's to get people active and socialize and, you know, just be all together more healthy. So I highly support partnering with these folks, but I do want to make sure that we are balancing, you know, what the average folks in College Park are looking for, and have right price points, have good locations, not just on campus, but spread throughout the city of College Park. I think about the new basketball court at the Calvert Hills playground field. I think about, you know, there's many places in, say, North College Park where you can do bocce, or you know, College Park Woods. I think we can somewhat tailor the different options based upon the facilities we have, and if Terrapin Social Sports is willing to go off campus a little bit, I think that would further strengthen the partnership. And again, I also am very excited and strongly encouraged by the School of Public Health and their intent to look at running a student-run, you know, league in spring of 2025, and possibly making that, you know, something that they can do in perpetuity. So it looks like the interest is there. The word is getting out that, you know, it's something the city would like to see done, and it's really exciting to see all the potential partnerships. And I do agree, it's an economic development. It's a health and you know, aspect of our community. It brings socialization, and people, you know, meet more neighbors, and it also can bring new folks into College Park, say in the summer when some of our businesses are a little bit slower. So I think it all in all hits a lot of you know, positive aspects, and I would encourage partnering with both of these entities, but making sure that off campus is also strongly considered. And I do have one more logistical item, but I can wait till others have comments, and if y'all could come back to me logistically, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Along the line of the partnering with other entities, I think Mr. Adams mentioned a very good idea, partnering with the University of Maryland. How about MNCPPC at PG Parks? They also run a bunch of programs during fall and winter, during summer. Did you get a chance to, or are we planning to talk to them?
To be quite honest, myself and the interns we were working with reached out, and it was really, really difficult to find appropriate persons to connect with, to talk with about this particular issue. So our students, we actually wrote about that in a report to me. So it definitely is an option. And when you look on their website and things, there are sports, but in terms of speaking with someone specifically about this, it would just take more time to really get to the right person.
Good. Looks like he's on your radar. All right, Ms. Whitney and Ms. Mackey. Ms. Mackey, sorry, I didn't follow.
I just really thank you that you have a diversity of contact and non-contact sports. I think that's really important for those of us who are senior citizens, that to have the opportunity to do like the pickleball. And so
The thing that, so I think that that's really fantastic, that you have a really good diverse sports thing. When I was at ITGA, I went to a conference on mental health, and one of the big things that they said about mental health is offering these kind of opportunities where people can get out and do physical things with others. And so I really think that it's a really important thing that we do in our city, not just for physical well-being, but for mental well-being and for fellowship and getting together. One of the things that I really wanted to also stress that I think it's important that we have diversity in locations and possibly consider having some kind of community engagement where there would be possibly somebody who might watch little ones while parents are playing. I don't know how we would broach that subject, but I think that a lot of like young families really need to get out and be doing some things, some young couples. So I think we should maybe consider how we would broach that. That's just a suggestion, but I know that that we do have a lot of young couples with small children who might want to come out and do something like this, and it would be prohibitive if there isn't some form of daycare or something like that, or like community, like, you know, like I don't play tonight and I'll watch the kids and you know, kind of share. So just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not a question, it's a comment. All right, Ms. Whitney?
I'll be brief. Really speaking about the affordability of the Terrapin Sports Program, is it possible, it seems like a lot of, or at least the proposed partnership with the School of Public Health might essentially be at no cost. So perhaps the monies that we set aside, could that be used to, in partnership with the university, to offset the cost for College Park residents of joining the leagues that do cost money? Might that be an option?
So by the time that I've actually had a couple of conversations, students and myself, with the Terrapin Social Sports person overseeing it at Recwell. And the answer is yes, they're interested in pursuing partnerships, maybe subsidizing the cost, maybe the city paying it. It's just that it was already, like the flyer was, it was already going by the time I was like, well, let's just promote it. And they're also interested in expanding which sports they might offer, because right now it's just the summer. And so it's a great opportunity for us to talk with them starting now, seeing how this is going, about other sports, about subsidizing costs. I will say that the reason they're only doing volleyball right now is what they told me is that, you know, even on the university field space availability, what they can do, this is what they could do in the summer, which was volleyball, just because of a lot of constraints that they actually have within the university. So that was also very telling. So it's going to take some more meetings, some more talking with each of the things in mind in terms of what staff is able to put together to bring back for the council to actually vote on, in terms of how we can use the monies and how we can structure a partnership.
Thank you. This is really exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez?
So, thanks for doing the research. I know that we ask a lot of the Youth and Family Services, quite a range. It gives me pause this is a new term I'm using. It gives me pause to consider the fact that we're going to ask the city to invest in this. When I look at the wrote it down, MNC PPC tax rate for FY24 on recreational programs alone is 19.5 cents. That's a considerable amount that's coming out of our funds. Now, to their credit, it's the only thing that's gotten my mom out of the house.
That's like 29 cents.
And I could be reading this wrong, but I'm looking at here. It says recreations tax, entire county recreations program. For the tax rate of personal property, it's $19.50. So I could be wrong. This is just for recreational programs alone. I'm trying to be fair. not compare apples to oranges. They're just fruit. But like, to like with all that into account, right? Like it's good. These programs, I mean, MNCPPC has been successful in getting my mom, who's not necessarily a senior, but you know, older and has a hard time with mobility issues, right, out of the house to go do arts and crafts. They have programs available. The county has programs available that we can sign up to, be it social sports. I mean, they have an incredible facility. And I just think, you know, we could help raise awareness. We could partner with MNC, PPC. We could, obviously, another opportunity is the university, which I'd love to be able to do. I'm open to all of those options because I think Councilmember Mackey brings it up perfectly. I mean, socialization is something that's super important and just a piece that's missing in today's society, the youth, right? Sitting there on their phones. So, I mean, from my perspective, I'm not necessarily supportive of the city. What it feels like is double taxing its residents by charging, and if that's, I don't mean to be inflammatory, but like using some of our general funds when we've already put so much of our funds from the county right now going to recreational programs in 2 different pots, because not everyone's gonna want to be a part of these programs, and they're gonna feel as though that it's being used without them. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'd love to partner with MNC PPC and give you the time, because obviously you haven't had the time yet to get a hold of the right person. Navigating the county is quite difficult, as the Mayor Pro Tem will tell you, and anyone else who deals with the county. So I welcome trying to talk about this later once you do have that opportunity and you have the opportunity to collect some more data points. But also from as it stands, just given those concerns, I'm not necessarily supportive of this particular route. I am supportive of discussing.
Oh, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Just for clarity purposes, the city really can't control Maryland National Park and Plan in regards to what we get. So when we say it seems like it's double taxing, in the optics, yeah, it does. And it's gonna take, not Denzel Washington or something like that, somebody to talk to Mr. Early and the next county executive to consider that some municipalities can get that money back. We are supposed to be having a conversation with Mr. Early for the city of College Park regarding the tax differential, but that's something that has been institutionalized for forever and a day. And I think also we'll need to take the county council to approve that as well. And I think that's gonna be a very, very huge feat for us.
So just to clarify, I wasn't asking to like lower the rate. I mean, that's something that's way out of our control. I'm just saying, like, if the residents are already paying for the county fee, like for us to pay for this program, they'd be paying for basically 2 programs.
Yeah. All right. Let's see the hands. Dr. Asters and Mr. Rigg.
Ms. Barber, I'd like to thank you
Just a
for
second.
your work in this effort and being creative. I think that where you have limited staff and working on this to identify things that may be available. I do hear my colleague, Mr. Hernandez, about MNC PPC, and I know that they offer a variety of programs, but I think a lot of this has to do with engagement and accessibility. So engagement of our residents here and offering them opportunities to do things here and making it more accessible. So I don't have any specifics regarding either collaboration. I think they both sound good, and I'll trust that your efforts will determine what could be helpful for us. So thank you.
All right. Mr. Rigg?
Yeah, I was going to offer a little bit of a perspective on MNC PPC with an organization with which I have had some experience on recreational sports. It can be very difficult to sign up for sports leagues on their website. The website's difficult to access, and typically you have to come with a team already. Or you can sign up with individual centers, but it's real spotty about whether they'll have enough teams to be able to do it. They really have struggled on team sports, at least in this area, and certainly, and especially team sports for adults outside of basketball. Basketball is a place in which they've really excelled. But I tried a couple of times to sign up for volleyball leagues, and it never really came together. I think that's because MNC PPC probably, they see their remit as county-wide and are agnostic, for the most part, about the presence of a municipality. I think, that they certainly want to support our residents, but our residents are no different to them than are the residents of unincorporated Prince George's County, immediately surrounding the city of College Park. And so if we want a focused program, this is one way to get a focused program. I think Mr. Adams' vision for it is that it sort of develops an ecosystem, as we see in some areas where there are these kind of private social sports leagues. The District of Columbia has one. Parts of Montgomery County have them. And they're both self-perpetuating but also self-supporting, and they support both sociability, as we've discussed, but also economic activity around where those sports leagues tend to be based. I think as we have Duval Field coming online, hopefully, in the next period of time, that could be a really great venue for social sports, and I think that could produce economic activity before and after games in the Hollywood district for businesses that would I'm sure love getting a little bit of extra business, especially during warm weather months. It would be a way of using the baseball diamond on Duval Field. It's currently largely unused or underutilized. If we get a softball league up there again, right? I agree with you in principle, Mr. Hernandez, but in practice, this isn't space that MNCPPC has every opportunity to be in, and they are not in it. So, I've can relate to Miss Barbara when she says she has problems getting in touch with people and getting people to return her call at our local parks department, because I've had similar experiences, and I would only add one other little thing, which is I think this is why when we talk about expansion of city services, I gravitate towards Parks and Recreation services, because I think we get a lot more bang for our buck out of sort of bringing Parks and Recreation services into the city compared to other services that we also don't directly perform. But anyway, that's a larger conversation for a different time. I support a modest investment in seeing whether we can develop an ecosystem of social sports in the city of College Park, and this seems like a very modest way to proceed. And congratulations for being our directors of Parks and Recreation, Ms.
Stay tuned for the action item. You never know what
imagine
be
social, in
recommended
your,
to be voted
your
on.
social work master's degree program, they covered field rental.
Maybe I can start a new show, Parks and Recs in College Park.
Can't wait to meet my
You're the
colleague
lead
who's going to be
actress.
on that show.
Miss Barbara will be the lead actress. Mr. Adams, your second bite.
Yeah, I'll start with a comment, and then I would like to ask a logistical question. Kind of puzzled a little bit by this conversation on why there's a need here. I think we have a clear survey indicating a lot of interest in social sports in College Park, and as we see on the survey, kickball is the top requested sport. I do not know where I can find a kickball league in College Park, but I do know where I can find a community center, and that's in Lakeland. But the city is spending $1.5 million to help cover a Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning responsibility by helping them with a new community center in North College Park. And so we're just talking about $30,000 when the city's already doing a $1.5 million responsibility of the county. So I really don't understand that logic there. But my logistical question is, in the packet, I believe it's written as $30,000 is included in the FY24 and FY25 budget. I don't recall seeing this as a line item in the FY25 budget. Can staff clarify that?
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Council Member Adams. It isn't. I actually sat there. I thought it was also in the FY25 budget. I was going to discuss that with the city manager. So at this point, when the item comes back for action and I have more time to actually get a hold on the actual cost, again, the public health program at this point really is going to be a course and a low to no cost. And if there is a subsidy to be for whatever the expansion of the Terrapin social sports that might be available for College Park residents, that particular item will have to be either reprogrammed or brought back to the council for action when we bring the item back with more information.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the FY25 budget does not have a specific line item, and I don't believe, as of tonight, there's a specific grant that's coming forward at the 30,000. So, you know, if I could ask the city manager, could we entertain conveying that 30,000 into FY25, or is that not how this works?
When we bring the item back, I think Ms. Barber was alluding to the fact that when we bring back the item, if the council wants to provide funding for the program in FY25 budget, you're free to do so, and that's when that would happen.
It'll be in budget.
And where would
budget
that
amendment?
come from, if I may ask?
It'll be budget amendment, right?
You'd have to make an amendment to the budget, and we'd have to identify where that $30,000 would come from.
Okay.
Okay.
That-
I just, you know, want to just put on the record that it makes me a little uncomfortable to not be able to move forward in FY, 2024, but it looks like, that's where we are. I did have one more question though. Have we reached out to any of the private organizations, the Bolo Sports, the Zog Sports? I think there's a couple others too.
We have, and just to gain more information, there was definitely interest. One of the things that, again, speaking on kind of outside of my wheelhouse is that there's smaller organizations, there's larger. How would we choose, which particular organizations we would partner with, even within College Park? And so, it's more planning in terms of would there be a request for people to write a proposal for the city on, so that people could be equally considered, because this would be a big deal to have those sorts of partnerships. But to answer your question, Councilmember Adams, we did speak with them about what their programming was, and there were several that thought it would be a good idea to expand, or not really having anything firm in place about what that might look like. And I didn't move further with any particular group without having a plan for how we would choose what business, the private-owned businesses, would be considered for this particular function.
Fantastic.
Okay, and back when this was proposed as a line item in FY24, I think one of the visions, I think, was to just have a grant program that we would seed fund one of these private entities to start a league in College Park and kind of run it on their own, and the grant would just help them with that initial startup costs and help us move forward. But I think in the movement of this and in the survey and stuff like that, it seems like the University of Maryland has also shown interest. So it looks like the opportunity is potentially greater, and definitely there's a lot of interest from our residents. So I look forward to continuing this conversation and finding ways so that we can have a diversity of different social sports throughout our city and use it as a way to socialize for health and as well as economic development. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Second right. It's
Yep.
getting late.
Lots been discussed here. I'll try to stay on topic and just talk about the social sports instead of other programs. I think there's been a lot of good topics discussed throughout tonight. I think just one question: is it typical for municipalities to give money to some of these private entities for them to come target that particular city? Like, did DC give Volo money before Volo went to DC?
What, move to extend the meeting, I'm sorry, to waive the rules and extend the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? This meeting extended.
I would say in my research, not necessarily a specific entity, there are municipalities, again, that particularly have park and recreation departments where they may put forth a grant and ask for companies, businesses to give a proposal. Like, hey, we have a grant, it's $30,000. Let's accept applications for this money. What will Volo do to support College Park residents with this money? And there'll be a process like that. So I have seen that. I'm not for certain if DC, I didn't go that in depth into those particular organizations, but it is not unheard of for a municipality to have a grant for this sort of function.
I think what gives me concern is the fact that, I mean, even in jest, what we've been saying is that most of these efforts are usually managed by a Parks and Recs department, which we do not have, right? And I don't know if it would roll over to a different individual. I think economic development was talked about for half a second there. Is that who we want to give it to? I don't want to put, I'd like to see a program, and if a program works, I'd like it to be successful. I'd recommend, or at least for consideration, some sort of pilot program. Perhaps we can look at kickball, like one sport that we work with the university, because they're offering it for free. This is an opportunity to build that partnership. It would be an excellent opportunity for the students and faculty to intermingle with some of the long-term residents that are here in College Park. I think that this could really, we could really strike a tune here. Something small and ideally scalable, but let's see if it works, right? I understand that there's a number of residents who have expressed interest. Sometimes that sort of interest is tough because we all know the times and demands that are on our schedules. So especially those with city staff, which I'm like, unless we're about to give you another title and a pay raise, Ms. Barber, I think that I'm concerned putting this on your shoulders. So,
all right, let's. I think we had a very good discussions and very couple of good points, like partnering with the university, partnering with the MCPC, and let's start with a kind of modest model instead of going big in the beginning. At least, I think, do you have any further comments?
No, I appreciate the feedback. More direction, definitely we'll speak with the city manager about, how we can follow through with what the council would like on this particular item. And
bring it back.
We will definitely bring it back. I will make sure that all the bases are covered about how the city can best move forward with what they'd like to here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right. So we have come to the end of the meeting.
Not quite.
We have the request for the status of the future agenda items. I haven't seen any. None in. Mr. Adams hasn't raised his hand. And we go for comments from the audience one more time. Oh my goodness, we have been waiting. Why didn't you tell us that you want to say something? Thank you so much. Welcome. Please state your name and if you live in College Park.
Yeah, forgive me for having to read from my phone. I want to get everybody out of here soon. My name is Michael McSweeney, and this is my wife, Chi Yu. We're relatively new residents at College Park on 52nd Place in the Hollywood neighborhood, having bought our house back in May of 2023. We like College Park and have connected with the community through local events, businesses, and meeting neighbors. We also had the chance to meet Mayor Kabir and Councilmember Hernandez, as well as Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell at the Hollywood Farmers Market with our dog Abby. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I lost my place here. And we've really appreciated the genuine warmth from everyone. Even when our dog, unfortunately, was attacked last month by a loose neighborhood dog, neighbors we hadn't met yet literally came to our rescue and likely saved our dog's life by scaring the other dog away, and a few others helped us identify and prove who the dog belonged to. We mention all that to emphasize why we've been so discouraged by the lack of local or state resources available to us for a nearly 6-month settlement dispute with WSSC regarding damages from a sewage backup the week before this past Christmas. We've already had to front more than $4,000 as a result, and after working through 4 different settlement offers that have all fallen short of our costs, our current estimates show that the most recent settlement offer is still short about $1,000 at minimum, all while residual bacteria continues to sit and likely grow in our torn-up basement. A claims supervisor at WSSC has owned up to a handful of mistakes and delays that she blamed on a lack of experience from the original claims representative, but then later seemed to be showing off when she said most of their settlement claims are $100,000 to $200,000 plus, and that our claim should be straightforward, yet it has been anything but that. To date, we reached out to the Maryland Insurance Administration, filed an official complaint with the Consumer Protection Division at the Maryland Attorney General's office, then got handed back to the Public Service Commission, who referred us back to WSSC's Claims Department, because none of them have jurisdiction over WSSC. We also reached out to the County Executive's office twice and never received more than an automated response saying we'd hear back. Just yesterday, I discovered the PG 311 number, who confidently tried to refer me back to the Attorney General's office, and was surprised when I told her they had no jurisdiction there. Local attorneys don't want to get involved because they're afraid the amount they'd have to charge for the time they would have to put into a case against WSSC would just put us in a worse financial situation than we're already in. And we supposedly wouldn't be able to recover legal fees because WSSC isn't included under the Consumer Protection Act. We also reached out to Councilmember Hernandez about a month ago, who responded very empathetically and described WSSC as quasi-governmental, concerningly the same phrase used by one of the attorneys we spoke to, and that he would need to look into resources for us as the situation was understandably new to him. The only additional option WSSC has provided to us is a committee hearing headed by a panel of WSSC administrators, and hopefully it goes without saying why we are hesitant to participate in something so heavily lopsided at this point. The fact that this one utility company, the only one that we're aware of, has managed to find a pocket that seems to allow them to operate fully unchecked and remain fully self-insured, I'm so sorry, I'll get through this as quickly as I can, seems dangerous to our community. Even beyond our immediate concern, we assume more work will need to be done in our area to prepare for the anticipated FBI headquarters next to our neighborhood. And while having that massive of an investment happen locally is exciting for our community, we can't help but fear what other mistakes or oversights might come from WSSC with a project that size. If they get to decide how much of any resulting damage they are responsible for without any oversight, how are we supposed to feel safe from any potential further damage? We understand we're new here and that you all may not have any real jurisdiction over them either. But we also know that we are not alone in our concerns and in our limited resources. And as our immediate community's governmental representatives, we are looking to you in hopes you might be able to help protect us from companies like WSSC using and abusing their expansive and seemingly unrestricted power. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming this evening. And it was truly a pleasure to meet you and your dog. I'm so sorry what happened.
Thank you.
When we leave this evening, please leave me with your name and email address and contact information.
Absolutely.
And I will see what I can try to do, wear my day hat, to see what we can help you out with, okay?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate
Can you
that.
please also send the statements that you just read to us, to our staff? And
Can the city do something? Kenny?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you can just forward me the same information as well.
Yeah. If you could please email us, you can either email to me, I can forward to the.
Just
to
what
our
I had
staff.
written there, just send it to you?
Yeah,
Okay,
please,
no,
yeah.
absolutely, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, very sorry to hear.
With the address, you said? Okay.
Mr. Ray?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is something that's happened a lot in our city, and including to me personally, and I've had 2 lawsuits against WSSC, both of which we've won, but have won very little money. So I would say get an attorney, get what you can, and it'll never make you whole. It'll make you feel better, and that's the only, having grappled with this for 15 years, it's, in my opinion, the only way forward.
I appreciate that. If I may just say that I appreciate the suggestion. We've reached out to a handful of attorneys, and none of them are interested in working with us.
Mr. Rigg might be able to help with some of the contacts you have.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very sorry to hear that. The
Thank you. No, I
experience is
appreciate it.
awful. It's a nightmare. My
But
goodness.
I'll definitely follow up. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. And again, thank you so much for staying late.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you. All right, anyone else wants to speak tonight? I don't see any. If not, Comment from the council, Mr. Rigg.
Pass, thank you.
Ms. Mackey?
Pass. Pass.
Mr. Adams, sorry. Yeah, I did not. Mr.
Yeah, I
Adams,
just want to send a personal thank you to the College Park Volunteer Fire Department and their support of my family on Tuesday morning of last
Oh,
week.
yeah, that's dramatic. And congratulations. Hey, speaking of fire department, I got a call from Mayor Jordan of Greenbelt this morning, and he was telling me, which is a little shocking, that the PGFD, Prince George's Fire Department, is taking out the professional career firefighters from City of Greenbelt Fire Department and Byron Heights Fire Department, which is a big news. So similar situations happened in College Park with the Branchville Fire Department a couple of years ago. So our residents will be impacted big way in terms of response times. Just to just to put it on our radar, maybe.
They're talking to the county council.
Yeah, we might need to send an letter or something in the next meeting in July, maybe. All right, Ms. Whitney?
Pass.
Dr. Esters?
I just want to thank the city for an upcoming series of events that really excited me was the neighborhood game night.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about that, and I challenge anyone to a game of Jenga. Just saying. Thank you.
Challenge. I take your challenge. All right, Mr. Hernandez.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I think this is the last meeting for the next 3 weeks. Which is great, fantastic, super exciting. Please feel free to reach out if there's anything that you may need to all residents. I will highlight some of the things that the city is doing for strategic communication. I want to congratulate our communications department for putting out a video regarding the city streetscape on Rhode Island and Edgewood, and what seems like an effort to really start incorporating multiple platforms to include YouTube, a popular video site that's easy to use. So I greatly appreciate it. I'm so grateful that I live in a city that celebrates all sorts of love. Last week, its Pride event was warm to see and incredible to be a part of. I don't know if we had a chance to talk about this, but there is a mural hanging here in the in City Hall chambers. I don't know what it says, but it's a biplane to symbolize, like the origins of College Park. But it was painted by all of the residents that attended that Pride event. It's great to see, great to celebrate, and it just something that I'm truly happy that we represent. I'll close with the North College Park Community Civic Association. We'll be having a meeting this Thursday. Looking forward to having you all out. And yeah, have a great summer. Be safe, and if you do leave, make sure to take advantage of some of the city's programs that look after your home in the event that you're not there. So, or just ask your neighbor.
Thank you. And the BDC at Berwyn District Civic Association will be having their meeting on the 20th.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
this coming Thursday.
Yeah, I'll plan to attend. All right, if there is nothing, let's go to actually our student liaison. Ms. Art, do you have anything to say? Any announcement? I think she is away. All right, Mr. Young.
Just a couple of things. I just want to draw your attention to Ms. Quinones sent you an email earlier related to an article that's come out, and you might want to take a look at that. The second item, we have been working with Prince George's County Animal Control on the video for talking about rabies. We had to redo the video shoot with them, so it should be out hopefully by the end of this week to the public.
Fantastic. All right, seeing none, seeing no other comments, this will be the last meeting of the June, but we'll be busy at the MML in Ocean City. Many of us will be going there.
I won't be
So I don't think that this is the last meeting. In Tuesdays, right, in College Park. All right, with that, I'll entertain a
Motion
motion.
to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourned. Good night, College Park.